Transition, the process of change from one condition to another.
We are now at a new crossroad where change is evident once again.
What does not serve us must transform us anew.
Returning to our original state of oneness and true nature of that which created who we truly are.
Confusion was the way of the past. Enlightenment is the way of the now and future, shedding away the layers of deceit.
We now bring you the transformation of the two who started as one. Our fearless planet never stands still.
Earth has been in a process of transition, and we are not exempt from this remarkable ongoing reality.
And hello and welcome to Real Talk with the Cummings. My name's Mark Angelo.
And I'm Lena Ariel. Thank you guys for joining us on this Monday afternoon, evening.
Yes, and we've got this really cool new app.
Wow.
Watch this. Hey there, cheese setting.
No way.
Yes way. And then you hide it there, and then we could just do one of this.
That is so cool.
I know, right?
And you just come up with like whatever. You can just air whatever comments are out there.
Yeah, you could air whatever, whenever anybody puts anything on there. And then if you want to share something, you're just like, like for instance, this right here, share screen. And we're going to go here and let's say I wanted to share this right here. Boom.
Ooh.
Oh, there's that one there. And if we wanted to do this right here, we could share that right there.
Also, I'm going to have to get closer.
Yeah, and it's all cool stuff.
That's really neat.
Yes.
Or a full screen, yeah.
Or a full screen, yeah.
And then guests, how about guests?
Well, if a guest comes in, I have to invite the guest right here, and then it'd be two. But since there's not two, there's only one, can't share a split screen when there's not two people, but that's how it goes. What's the name? What's the name to what?
This app.
Oh, the name of the app is, what's this thing called? StreamYard.
StreamYard.
Yeah, StreamYard. You see a little funny looking duck with
ducky
duck with the ass on the top right-hand corner. But it works well, and it's free, folks. That's the
best part.
That's the best part.
We looked at the other stuff, but it just seems a bit
much
convoluted.
And this is very simple.
And it does the job.
And it does the job very well. So, I'm pretty happy with it.
I think it's cool.
Sure do too. So,
I think it's really cool.
So let's see here. Let me go. If I wanted to do this again. Oop. There we go. So like when we do, wait, no, you have to get closer. There we go. We're just like playing with it. So, yeah.
So if you were to do
let me see
that.
Now it's side by side. How about this? There we go.
Oh,
much better.
Cool.
Yeah, that's better. That's when we're going to share the stuff.
Yeah, full screen.
Yeah, full screen.
And then you could still have us.
The other thing, when I schedule the show, I noticed that I schedule and it was like still said something needed another 60 minutes or something before the show, and I looked in, it was still in PST. So
PST?
Pacific time.
Oh,
it's Pacific Standard Time. So I've got to like make sure that I check. It's like before when I used to do it with Google Hangout, it was just Google Hangout, and that was it. But hey, this is good stuff. Good stuff. Good stuff.
I'm really happy that we found something.
Yeah, something that works. So how's it going, Susan? Hope all is well.
In Aussie land.
Yes, the land down under. Land down under. So today we're going to be speaking about, or conversing about, actually, before we go on that, didn't we want to mention a little something?
About?
Well, that whole interaction, we won't mention names per se, but, I could totally relate to Derek, okay, how Derek started getting all these haters because, when certain people want to direct not only your life, but your show and what you talk about. And then they get all like really tangled up and inside. And we have the Other Police. How do you do? Yes, another YouTube channel.
How do you do?
Yes. You know, and they end up, you know, reflecting and not, you know, not accepting that everyone's on a journey. Like you and I are a married couple, and yet, you know, I've got my way of thinking, you've got your way of thinking. We try to meet in the middle, and we try to, you know.
Yeah, there's a difference of opinion, but we love each other at the end of the day.
Right.
And, you know, there's nothing that will separate Mark and I. You know, I mean, we may have some ideological differences,
right.
very minor. But, you know, I mean, it all stems from the fact that sometimes I just don't like hearing him repeat what I don't want to hear. Yeah. But, you know, I mean, that's neither here nor there. Right. And it doesn't take away from the fact that, you know, it's true, you know.
Can I hear that again? I know. It's true.
I mean, he talks about hormones, and I know that they're dangerous, you know. I mean, he has articles about them, and, you know, I cringe reading them, right. But it doesn't take away from the fact that they're true, you know. So, I mean, for me, you know, telling anybody that transition, you know, involving especially surgical procedures is absolutely unthinkable.
Yeah.
You know, unthinkable. And, you know, if people really need to understand certain things, I mean, and they're going to be triggered by it, mm-hmm. It's not our fault. It's not our problem.
Hey, Dottie, wow. My gosh. Thank you. Thank you for joining us, Dottie. We want to thank you from the bottom of our hearts for your wonderful gift. Gosh, you are amazing. You. I mean, wow. It's like we are wanting to, let me see here. I'm going to share. I mean, I still have to get used to, oh, that's not what I want to do. I wanted to trash that one and share another thing. I'm going to have to get used to.
Yeah, it's okay. It'll become second nature.
Yeah, well, here we go. That beauty right there. That's it's a Phoenix cruiser. And I think that's a little bit bigger than, I like to probably get like a 24-foot, 26 max. I'm not sure if it goes from 24 to 26 or 28. But, you know, it looks very aerodynamic. It looks like it'll be a lot easier on gas than an RV Class C. It also is a little more roomier than the actual traveling van that we were thinking about. And I love the whole dynamic of it. And that's like the Heartmobile or the Lovemobile that we want to get so we could go out there and meet every single one of you and you know, manifest together, sing together, dance together, love on one another, break bread together, make the vibrations go high together so that we could help heal this beautiful blue planet and heal ourselves.
Can it drive all the way out to Australia?
I don't know.
We have so many friends out there.
Australia, I know. Unless we find wings, maybe the one that flies.
Maybe one that floats.
Floats in the boat or something. I think there's something out there similar to that. And amphibious stuff, yeah. But, yeah, this is so cool.
I know.
Right? I mean,
I'm glad we found it.
I'm glad you found it. You know,
I was just surfing and searching and looking, and you said, there's one that looks like a football team or something.
Yeah, because I remember the little blue thingy over here. That guy right there. And I'm like, it was like a mascot. It was a mascot, and it was like, but yeah, finally. But thank you so much, Dottie. You know, that we're just saving up for that. And just so I can't wait. I mean, it's like I spent all day looking at not all day, but I spent a long time trying to search and find, and I was like, that's the one. That's the one that we need, the Phoenix Cruiser. Yeah. So definitely. And so we want to thank you for your generous gift.
Very much so. I mean, it's so appreciated. You have no idea how much of a blessing.
Yes.
You know, any donation is really, and it just really helps us to further our mission.
Yes.
And, you know, our real desire is to get out of these four walls in here and to get out there, you know, and to really love on people.
Totally. let's see here. What's going on with that?
Of course, it was a matter of time.
Yes.
Before these two.
Yeah.
Get on.
Yeah. I was kind of like ignoring. Don't view that. I mean, that's the reason the whole
I'm just looking at it.
Yeah, because we don't want to give it any look or any energy to it. That's what she said is doing her job.
No, I know, but I'm just looking at it.
Yeah, but then you have to re-hide it again because it's like,
does it show up?
Yes, it shows up.
Oh, it does?
It does. And whenever you do that, the whole concept is to not give them any attention.
Oh, okay. I thought it just showed
they're
up
bots.
for me.
Yeah, no, they're bots. Yeah, thank you so much, Susan. You're a lifesaver.
Oh, Susan, we wanted to present just an idea that maybe, we've been thinking about it.
Because sometimes, I mean, well, you go.
Well, sometimes the latest, approvals for moderators and stuff that we've had on this, in our group here. I mean, so many times we're trying to focus on the show and then we're like, okay, we're running into issues, so we need to get some new mods and stuff. And then we don't probably make the greatest choices.
Right.
So
you're
we
like,
know that you can do that.
Yes.
And that you have the knack for what, it takes to be a mod, because you were like,
you do a fantastic job.
Like the perfect mod,
Couldn't ask for a better one.
The perfect mod.
And Heidi joins us. Hello, Heidi Lehman. And you and Mark are the blessing. Lots of love and hugs. E.T. Heidi. Yes.
Oh,
how can we forget
Heidi.
you, E.T.? Thank you. Thank you so much. Hope all is well with you and your granddaughters. Yeah. And let's see. Dottie said.
So we just wanted to ask you, if you could just take over.
Said, thumbs up. I'm gathering
Awesome.
that means yes.
Awesome.
So
appoint as you wish.
Yes.
Miss Lead Mod.
Yes. Okay, so let's see here. We're going to talk today about genetic Adam and Eve uncover. Let me see if I could actually share that. And that way we can maybe read it from here. I hope it's not going to be too small. Yeah, we should be able to. And wait, let me see.
You can't scroll.
I can't scroll if I do it that way, so I'll have to do it this way.
There you
Let's
go.
go. All right, so I know we've talked about Adam and Eve before, and all the different. There's so many different theories out there, and gosh, she said, he said, this happened, that happened, but I think that there is something behind the whole concept of the Adamist project.
Mm-hmm.
The Eve thing, is it Lilith? Was it Eve? Was there, there's still a lot of like theories floating out there, which in reality, I don't think it really matters, what the logistics of it all is, because I think it's all based on gosh, what's the word I'm looking for? Just mythology and things to help us grasp with our human minds, what took place. But this particular article talks about that almost every man alive can trace his origin to one man who lived about 135,000 years ago.
That's a long time.
That's quite a long time ago. New research suggests, right? And that ancient man likely shared the planet with mother of all women.
The findings detailed today, August 1st, in the journal Science come from the most complete analysis of the male sex chromosome, or the Y chromosome, to date. The results overturn earlier research, which suggested that men's most recent common ancestor lived just 50 to 60,000 years ago.
Despite their overlap in time, ancient Adam and ancient Eve probably didn't even live near each other, let alone mate. And that's all found in the 10th biggest mystery of the first human. Those two people didn't know each other, said Melissa Wilson Sayers, a geneticist at the University of California, Berkeley, who was not involved in the study.
Researchers believe that modern humans left Africa between 60,000 and 200,000 years ago, and that the mother of all women likely emerged from East Africa. But beyond that, the details get fuzzy.
So the Y chromosome is passed down identically from father to son. So mutations or point changes in the male sex chromosome can trace the male line back to the father of all humans. By contrast, DNA from the mitochondria, the energy powerhouse of the cell, is carried inside the egg. So only women pass it on to their children. The DNA hidden in each mitochondria, therefore, can reveal the maternal lineage to an ancient Eve. Interesting.
But over time, the male chromosome gets bloated with duplicated, jumbled up stretches of DNA, said study co-author Carlos Bustamante, a geneticist at Stanford University in California. As a result, piecing together fragments of DNA from gene sequencing was likely like trying to assemble a puzzle without the image on the box top, making thorough analysis difficult.
So let's see here. I think John Osborne joins us. Thank you, John. Thank you. John says, we both look great. Love the choice of colors. Just here to hear, listening. Oh, thank you. And thank you, team, for joining us. Just love you guys. Looking forward to tonight's talk. Team joined me this morning. Thank you, team. We totally appreciate your support. So the Y chromosome, Bustamante and his colleagues assembled a much bigger piece of the puzzle by sequencing the entire genome of the Y chromosome. For 69 men from 7 global populations, from African sand Bushmen to the Yakut of Siberia. Isn't Bushman also in Australia, or is that just Africa?
What's that?
The Bushman. I thought
It said African.
Africa? Yeah.
That's what it said, African. By assuming a mutation rate anchored to archaeological events, such as the migration of people across the Bering Strait, the team concluded that all males in their global sample shared a single male ancestor in Africa roughly 125,000 to 156,000 years ago.
So in addition, mitochondrial DNA from the men, as well as similar samples from 24 women, reveal that all women on the planet trace back to a mitochondrial Eve, who lived in Africa between 99,000 and 148,000 years ago, almost the same time period during the Y chromosome Adam lived, which is when he lived, not the.
But the results, though fascinating, are just a part of the story, said Michael Hammer, an evolutionary geneticist at the University of Arizona, who was not involved in the study. A separate study in the same issue of the journal Science found that men shared a common ancestor between 180 and 200,000 years ago.
So in a study detailed in March in the American Journal of Human Genetics, Hammer's group showed that several men in Africa have unique divergent Y chromosomes that trace back to an even more ancient man who lived between 237,000 and 581,000 years ago. And this is found on the Unraveling the Human Genome 6 molecular milestone. It doesn't even fit on the family tree that the Bustamante lab has constructed. It's older, Hammer told Live Science. Imagine that. You know, it's like, here we are, believing that Adam and Eve were the very first creation, yet the science, the DNA, proves otherwise.
Yeah, I mean, I would think that it points to the fact that there were African slave workers that are historically been found to be like, there's these mines in southern Africa that and Africa is still a very much sought after piece of land. I mean, they call it the dark continent, Africa, but I think it's because the West took it, the old world took it and raped it of its natural resources and stuff. So here you have still to this day in South Africa, lots of gold, lots of diamonds, the blood diamond, the mountains in Kenya, and how there's all these gold deposits everywhere. So it's a very rich area. And I think that that's where the Ajiji, the original androgynous human, and this whole Adamus project was taking place, where, Enki was experimenting and doing things with humans and animals and all kinds of stuff was going on.
And I think there's, besides all the material ingredients that are found there that the Anunnaki, the Anunnaki or the Archons want, there is something in that area. I think there's certain points all throughout the world, almost like portals, that are required to be able to find these stones, these things that they're looking for. Kind of like the movie we watched the other day. What was it? The
Infinity Wars?
Infinity Wars.
Yeah.
Kind of something like that.
Well, gene studies always rely on a sample of DNA and therefore provide an incomplete picture of human history. For instance, Hammer's group sampled a different group of men than Bustamante's lab did, leading to different estimates of how old common ancestors really are.
So, Adam and Eve, question mark. These primal people aren't parallel to the biblical Adam and Eve. They weren't the first modern humans on the planet, but instead just 2 out of thousands of people alive at the time with unbroken male or female lineages that continue on today.
The rest of the human genome contains tiny snippets of DNA from many other ancestors. They just don't show up in the mitochondrial or Y chromosome DNA, Hammer said. For instance, if an ancient woman had only sons, then her mitochondrial DNA would disappear, even though the son would pass on a quarter of her DNA via the rest of his genome.
As a follow-up, Bustamante's lab is sequencing Y chromosomes from nearly 2,000 other men. Those data could help pinpoint precisely where in Africa these ancient humans lived. Very exciting, Wilson Saris told Life Science. As we get more population across the world, we can start to understand exactly where we came from physically.
You know, the word Adam means of the earth, you know, from the ground, from, you know, the elements of this planet, you know, and it's a simple term, you know. I mean, Adam and Eve were created or formed from the already created elements of this earth, you know, and, you know, it was like, that was Enki's job. You know, the God of this world was then given that ability to make whatever he wanted to make out of this third dimension. But the reality is that we continue to emphasize the fact that this is nothing other than a meat suit.
Yeah.
That's all this is. This is going to go back to the ground where it came from.
Yeah.
Our spirit is what is real. Our spirit is what is not in a dream state.
Yeah.
You know, our spirit is the one that can detach itself from this physical realm and enter into another existence that is really where we're from.
You know, a lot of people have a hard time understanding that or wanting to accept that. And they like to identify themselves with their suffering. They like to identify themselves with the identity that they've created, because this identity has become a coping mechanism for them. So to tell somebody that that coping mechanism is an illusion, they're going to fight you on that, you know, and it's understandable. It's understandable because people take their identity very serious. And it's like, you attack their identity, you're attacking their core. But they don't realize that it's not your core. Right. Your meat suit is not who you are. And when you finally learn to let go of that, that's when you're going to find true happiness. Because in the meantime, the meat suit is associated with desires, wants, needs, you know, anything to kind of pull you away from really looking deep within and learning who you truly are. You know, like the great conversation I had this morning with Scott, who called in. If the first thing you do when you get up in the morning is get in front of that mirror and you take yourself so serious, you're still not as awake as you think you are, because, you know, that mirror is still calling you. You know, we see a lot of people, I mean, in this world, not just trans people, I'm talking about everybody. Everybody on this planet is so addicted to their persona, to their selfies, to all this stuff that they take, because it's like they haven't done the work. But once you get to know who you are truly inside, I mean, truly, that inner person, you know, it's amazing. Who would want to go back? You know, I think that once you find the true gold, and the true gold lies within us, gold is not the sparkling stuff that we see out in the rivers, when that gold that gold craziness that people started, finding gold and they became so mesmerized by this sharp, shiny objects, it's like, no, the gold is within you. That's what they came to mind here. Not just the outer gold. That's just, again, the illusion, the hologram, the matrix.
We've been placed into this life that we live, quote unquote, but it's really death. And our eventual death, quote unquote, in this world is really life.
I love this new gadget.
That's what this is all about. This is all about understanding that everything in this reality is inverse to what is true. Exactly. So if you think you're alive, just because you're breathing, that's not what life is. We are self-sustaining, eternal beings of light that do not need anything to sustain ourselves. So the fact that if I breathe in and I can't live, I'll die, So it's like, we're already dying,
We're living in a decay world.
In a decayed state.
Yeah, it's a decayed world. Our mid-suit are decaying every second. From the moment we came out of our mother's womb, we started the decay process. We lost, as we got older, we lost that connection to the divinity, to the absolute. And the makers of this world, are making sure each day that you get further and further away from mother and father.
They're distracting you from understanding that you are a divine being, and whether you like it or not, you are creating things at this moment. I mean, it's not a matter of you will be a creator God. It's that you are a creator God right now. And if you find yourself in a situation where you're having lots of difficulty, you're having problems in your relationships, I mean, all these different things, you're coming up against different challenges in your life, or, you're struggling with this. It's like, did you ever make the connection that maybe you're creating that,
or that you're
manifesting?
You're not in alignment in what mother, father wants you to be in alignment with. Notice that when you're in alignment and you're doing something that mother, father are pleased with, everything goes okay. Everything goes just as planned. It's like, wow, like butter, right? But as soon as you start doing things that are not in the alignment with the well-being of all, not just you, of all, because everything that we do is interconnected with each and every one of us, everything that's in this living planet. If you're not in that path and you're just in the path of selfhood, then things aren't going to go so well. You're going to be angry all the time. You're going to be frustrated all the time. You're going to walk in guilt, everything. You're not going to have a skip in your walk. You're not going to have a smile on your face. You're constantly going to be moping and groaning, and it's like, that kind of tells you you're not in the right path.
Well, I just wanted to say that finding yourself, and there's this quote that I put up on my wall, finding yourself is not really how it works. You are a $10 bill and last winter's coat pocket, because you're not really lost. Your true self is right there, buried under cultural conditioning, other people's opinions, and inaccurate conclusions you drew as a kid that became your beliefs about who you are. Finding yourself is actually about returning to yourself, and unlearning, an excavation, a remembering who you were before the world got its hands on you.
Totally. And Dottie says, yep, life is too serious to take too serious. And that is very true. And Heidi says, thank goodness for organic dark chocolate and sex. That helps with being in this meat suit.
That's true. We had both.
Yes. We love chocolate, and we buy this organic, mostly cacao. And sometimes we get carob if the carob's on special. This carob is usually more expensive. But we sprinkle it on top of our oatmeal. And it's just that combination of coconut flakes, berries, cacao nibs, or carob nibs, the oatmeal, the different kind of wheat germs. And I mean, it's just, and bananas, apples. And, it just makes it all so delicious and so worthwhile.
Yes, it's yummy.
And although I don't like to give so much precedence to pleasurable things, because every time we engage in such pleasurable things, we're engaging in the world that the one that doesn't like us very much created. So it's a balancing act, you know.
Well, I think Scott Severini, was it?
Yeah.
Scott made some very great points, and I would encourage you guys to take a look at that interview, because I mean, he said some really interesting things. And, you know, I think he has an understanding of being in this world, but not being of it. You know, and he has a business, and he does what he does, and, you know, but he doesn't make it his identity.
Exactly.
You know, he utilizes it because he knows it's a tool to get to what he needs to do to accomplish his mission.
Right.
You know,
exactly.
And as long as we understand that, like, we want that van, right? But it's not because we want it materialistically, because we're like totally coveting this, this vehicle, you know. We want it because we know that if we get it, we can visit, we can accomplish more things, we can hug more necks, we can make a bigger impact on this world. We can accomplish our mission.
Yes.
You know.
And my goal is to be able, you know, with my expertise, is to be able to help people that need help as far as nutrition, working out, all sorts of like visualization, helping people heal. That I know that if I could get my hands on certain individuals and help them connect that fire within, that will help them heal. And that's all I want to be able to do, is to help every single one of you as much as possible. You know, and be able to connect so we could raise the vibrations. You know, that's
awesome. You know, I mean, that is where, you know, it's like, it says, you know, seeking you will find, knock and the door will be open, ask and you will receive. You know, I mean, that whole concept is, you know, if you're asking for something based on the fact that your divine parents want that for you, or are actually, they're the ones that are probably influencing you to have that.
Yes. Because when you want something, you know, and you're wanting it, but it's not in the alignment with mother, father, you might get it because other forces will make it happen, but they're doing it not for the betterment of you. They're doing it so they could pull you away from your mission. Okay. So when you are constantly in communication with your higher self, which mother, father combined, and you're constantly being directed by they're piloting everything, you know, you're just kind of like riding this life through their piloting, then everything that comes before you is there because of them. And you know that it's there for a reason. It's there not just for your own pleasure, because you can't do anything on this planet for your own pleasure. That's not coming from mother and father. It's for the betterment of the whole. And that's how we need to learn how to view our lives and live our lives, when it just is not about you, but it's for everyone, because we all connected. We are one.
And the importance is understanding that, you know, the enemy of our existence, you know, as eternal beings, wants to trip us up at every opportunity. You know, the Bible would say, you know, Satan roams around as a roaring lion, seeking whom he may devour. You know, that whole concept of like, you know, there's a predator out for us. And, you know, sometimes the predator doesn't utilize his teeth to hurt you. Sometimes he utilizes candy. Sometimes he utilizes a great career. Sometimes he utilizes some really great financial opportunity. Sometimes he utilizes a lottery win. You know, I mean, there are so many ways that this enemy of our soul can entangle us. And if he knows that you have a weakness with money, and he can get money into your hands and get you to be like all oodles over it
and into spending and all that stuff. And he knows he got you. You know, he get it totally. I mean, that's like he's dangling that carrot, you know, and he's creating the scenario so that you can mess up your life royally, because he doesn't want the betterment for you. He wants your destruction.
And if he wants, if it takes for you to become rich to get there, some people that, you know, a lot of people who get lots of fame and fortune and, you know, recognition are some of the most miserable people that you will ever meet. You know, they are just absolutely empty. You know, it's like they'll turn on in front of the camera. And I used to see this myself because I used to work in television, and there were people that they were like all lit up and happy, joy, go lucky, happy go lucky people. And then off camera, they were some of the most hideously dark, evil souls.
But it's a persona that people develop.
Yeah.
It's part of the ego, and it's part of, I like to say, the dark spirits that roam this earth that take residence inside of you, you know, and they literally control your every move, you know, and it's, if you're allowing that to happen because you're not in connection with Father, Mother, because you're not in alignment with the mission that you came here to do, you just completely went off the wagon and are a rogue, then you know you're going to be hijacked by deities that don't have your best interest. So we need to reflect, like I spoke about this on this morning's show. We need to really reflect, and we need to start communicating with every cell in our body, not just our physical cell, but our spiritual cells, so that we could align it completely with Mother, Father, and be of light, of service, and be on track for our mission. Yes, and
Good
she
stuff.
says, that's true. I'm known many, totally. You know, and so if this Adam and Eve were not the original humans, then gosh, you know, we've really got to question a lot of the things that we have been taught and told, and the whole scenario that has been painted by many religions.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, and I think that these ancient stories have been repurposed and retold. You know, I just finished doing a post because someone was vehemently telling me how much an error I was about the fact that I believe that the Apostle Paul was a tool, a patsy of the Roman Empire, that he was a person who took a message that was pure, that was delivered from Christ, whatever and whoever that was, not Jesus, but the Christed one, you know, and took it and turned it into this whole enslavement mentality, right? And so here we have the Sumerian tablets that predate the Old Testament, the Genesis account of Adam and Eve and the garden and the story and all that. And there are so many more details in the Nag Hammadi about that encounter. And, you know, there are entire tablets that have been talking about the Epic of Gilgamesh and the whole, you know, story of the flood and how, you know, all of this took place. And all the Bible does is make this really simple little, like, once upon a time, a man and a woman existed, God breathed in their nostrils, and they lived on this happy-go-lucky little garden. And, you know, it's
and
like,
then they made a boo-boo.
And they made a mistake, and they had to pay with their lives.
Yes. And now women must bear children and hurt.
You know,
It's
and God punished the serpent and said, you must now crawl on the ground for the rest of your life. You know, it's like, who did they think they are? Just telling these little simpleton stories that basically pollute the absolute message that was intended in the first place.
Yes.
And that was the fact that we were duped into these bodies, that we were placed into these suits of meat, and that we were given skin, you know, in order to think that we were involved in the original sin, you know, that we committed, because this God said, now you could do this, and this, but you can't do that. And if you do that, then it's like, so the guy who caused the problem makes the savior. And it's like, he's like, you know, that episode in Lucy where Lucy's traveling with Ricky and they're going to California and they end up in North Carolina, and there's this guy there who's the jailer, who's the fireman, fire chief. He's the policeman. He changes his hat every single time because he's like, he's the mayor. He's the one who marries people. He's the minister.
Yeah. Crazy
it's
stuff.
Like that's who the God of this Bible is.
Is exactly. And I just got, wow, you both are so on point. I heard these same things on Saturday with a couple of readings I had that included a reading from a shaman. Awesome.
That's good to know.
Yeah.
I'm glad that we're on track with a shaman.
Yeah.
Wow.
You know, I truly believe that we are all going to wake up. We're connected. We're family. We're not any different. We're all the same. Some of us have gone through a detour, fell into a mud pit, are still trying to clean ourselves up. Some of us hit our heads. We have a little bit of amnesia. And actually, we all hit our heads. We all have amnesia. We're just slowly recovering the memory of the horrific trauma that we have been placed in. We've been traumatized. That's why we developed the ego, because what they have done to us is unthinkable. Totally unthinkable.
Someone commented on an old YouTube video that we did. And it was, during a time when we were like contemplating detransitioning in the sense of like wanting to reach out to my children and all this stuff. And they're like, you need to repent and God and this and that and the other. And, you need to like lay yourselves, and I rebuke that devil that's in you. And it's like, and you're chill. It's like, I was like, wow, these people are more possessed than the people that they claim are possessed.
They actually wish bad things upon us so that we could go crawling back to God. Yeah. Or their God.
May it's like, never see
it's
the
like,
light of
what,
day.
What kind of human being does that? Wishing somebody ill so that they could repent and go crawling back to their...
That sounds like Yahweh.
Yeah.
That sounds like that.
That's not my God. That's not Mother, Father, the absolute, the divine, the one that wants the best for us and is sitting there, like cheering for us, rooting for us. Like, I know you got this, babies. Come on, come on, come on. You can do this, unlike the other. It was like, yeah, mess up so I could damn you to hell. I mean, it's like beyond me.
So Dottie says, wait a minute. Why would God let a serpent in the garden in the first place?
This is awesome. I mean, not only read it, it's like everybody gets
awesome.
like...
I love that emblem too.
I know. Yeah, Dottie has an awesome emblem.
So why would he? Yeah. Because they work for the same team. That's why.
Yeah.
Because they both have the same goal in mind, is the enslavement of mankind. And whether you follow Marduk, whether you follow Enki, whether you follow Lucifer or even Jesus.
Yeah.
Okay. It doesn't matter.
It's all the same. It's like all the part of the buffet. What do you want? Potatoes, French fries?
Who do you want to pick?
Mashed potatoes?
Do you want to pick the loving God who says, come to me, all you who hunger and thirst, and call on the Father's name, and you shall be saved? Or do you want the one that says, I hate your guts. You're going to go to hell because I hate you. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
And she says that there's always a back door. Dottie, and then Dottie replies, there's God and devil matrix me things. Yeah.
Yeah, there's always like, it's like, in order for good and evil to exist, this God has to operate within those parameters. So he's going to be good and he's going to be evil. So he can, and he said it in Isaiah. He said, I am the God who brings evil and good. He's like a bipolar God.
Yes.
He's a schizo.
Yeah. And that's why a lot of us have taken on that trait. Because the little g of this world, we have a reptilian brain. We have, this meat suit operates from this reptilian brain. So we think just like Mr. S, the devil himself, very, very bipolar. Very confused, very angry. That's why there are parts in the Bible where he's an angry God, and another part he loves you, and another part he wants to damn you to hell. He doesn't know what to do with himself or us, for that matter.
At certain points, I think that this Lucifer God or this Satan or whatever is trans.
Could be. Could
I
be.
think he's trans.
And God knows, I'm not, especially trans women. My gosh, it's like confusion.
It's
1
like
minute, 1 minute.
1 minute.
I'm going to do this.
And then they change their mind.
Yeah.
And then they act all passive aggressive.
Yeah.
And they think that they're being meek about it.
Oh yeah, because they want to pretend they're like all like
I'm a woman.
But it's passive aggressive
But
behavior.
if it were me, I would do this. And it's like,
and then when you don't do what they say, it's like all wrath breaks loose, literally, just like the Creator God.
yeah, because their God can be a nice, loving, gentle, warm, tender God who brings manna down and, feeds his people.
Yeah.
And then they barely make a complaint, right?
Yeah.
They say, you know what? I'm tired of picking up manna. I'm really wanting some meat. So this God goes, oh, you want meat? I'll bring you meat. So he drops a load of of peasant or quail or something, and he dumps it on them so that they get gorged out of their minds, and then they die. Yeah, it's like so it's like this God love and hate, love and hate, love and hate.
It's that bipolar mind. And Ampari Joe 1 joins us and says, "You got it, Toyota. Amparejo. You got it, Toyota." And she says, "My mother loves mashed potatoes, dentures, and old gums."
Oh my.
Yes. Mashed potatoes are awesome.
I love mashed potatoes.
Especially when you sprinkle a little bit of the nutritional yeast on it. That's like awesome stuff, All right, so talking about bipolar, apropos here.
That's nice.
10 signs of bipolar disorder. Now, I want to say that I believe a very high percentage of humans on this planet suffer from this condition. Many have gone undiagnosed. There are different degrees of bipolarness. Some of it's chemical, some of it is environmental, some of it is self-induced. I believe that imbalances in our hormone levels create this greatly. I believe that when you eliminate certain parts in your body that brings you health, you bring this tenfold upon you.
Now, one of the things I wanted to say, since you mentioned hormones, was that hormones are that system that was put into humankind that is not for our benefit.
Not at all.
It's to give us it's like extreme this way and then extreme the other way. It's like this system of extremes that it needs to be at this certain perfect level. But the fact is that since this God of this world is doing his best to make it always this way and this way, people are out of balance because they're constantly trying to do something where it keeps them like this or like that,
So that's part of the hormonal imbalance that kicks in that bipolar disorder. And she says like a binary system. Exactly. And she said,
I like the new program of delivery. I'm going to look into getting that.
It's awesome, isn't it?
And it's
free. Free is always good.
They said it's free for now. Free for now.
Hopefully it continues to be free.
Yes, it will. We speak of freeness.
Yes. So 10 signs of bipolar disorder. The media depiction of bipolar disorder aren't always inaccurate. Films like Silver Linings Playbook in 2012 and Michael Clayton 2007 have challenged and expanded the public's view of what bipolar looks like in real life. However, strong stereotypes still influence how we define and recognize bipolar in ourselves and in loved ones. Here are 10 signs of bipolar disorder, including symptoms of both mania and depression that you don't want to ignore. And I grew up with a very bipolar mother because she had thyroid problems. They had to remove a whole side of her thyroid, and that creates a hormonal imbalance because thyroid is another hormone. There's many hormones, not just your sex hormones. And when that is out of whack, your behavior becomes out of whack. Manic states, people could end up like wanting to take on the world. You know, they're busy, and they talk really fast, and they don't sleep. You know, but here, let's have a dander on what this article has to say.
The average person, well, decreased need for sleep. The average person is delighted by the excessive energy of a manic or hypomanic cycle, the additional hours in her day, courtesy of a short night. If you or a loved one is functioning well with no real signs of fatigue or cognitive impairment, on 4 to 5 hours of sleep for weeks on end, or on significantly less sleep than a previous sleep schedule, this could point to mania.
My sister would get this. She'd keep her light on all night in the room because I had her move in with me. She left college. She was having a really hard time. And when she would go through her mania stages, there was barely any sleep needed. And she was functioning. I'm like, you're going to get sick without sleep. That's a sign of being bipolar. Racing thoughts and accelerated speech. You can't catch your thoughts because they're rolling off the teleprompter screen in your brain too quickly to read, resulting in a lot of babble that doesn't make sense to the person in front of you. Now, compound the jumble thoughts with speech that is so accelerated that you appear to be on speed. Get the picture? That's a sign of mania.
Restlessness and agitation. Imagine someone who sits down at a restaurant for only 2 minutes before he's agitated by something and needs to move. The next table is too loud. The waitress is too slow. His hair is too wobbly, or he decides he isn't in the mood for Mexican. One red flag of bipolar mania is the inability to sit still and chill. A really cranky, highly sensitive adult with the attention of a fly.
Yes, that definitely is another sign. Overconfidence. A burst of confidence is always my telltale sign that I might be manic, when I feel as though what I write is New York Times bestseller material. Truthfully, the absence of insecurity for me indicates some inflation of confidence. But if you suddenly think you are endowed with special superpowers that will change history by tomorrow afternoon, you may want to confess that opinion to a psychiatrist, because such self-assessment could indicate a manic episode of bipolar disorder.
Impulsive and risky behavior. Okay. Most people are aware of this symptom of mania: the shopping spree, the extramarital affair, the motorcycle trip across the country. However, that's what's impulsive for one human being is completely different for another. If you suddenly want to ditch your career as an IT guy in middle America to become a gourmet chef at a New York City bistro, or if you all of a sudden want to become a woman after living as 35 years as a man, or buy 3 log cabins to renovate in Upper Michigan, be careful. This may be a sign of mania.
And that is why they say that the majority of transgender individuals have personality disorder, bipolar disorder, because this right here, right here.
She said it says menopause also affects sleep patterns. Thank God that is over.
Yeah, because anytime your hormones are off, it really does create a massive disorder in sleep cycle and just about everything, and especially like the night sweats and things like that. Horrible. I'm really lucky. It's going to be a month since I've been off, and so far, knock on wood, I sleep pretty well. I haven't had any night sweats. I think after the age of 50 or so, the body kind of gets used to not having the hormones. Yeah. And that's a good thing.
Parejo says the majority of people today suffers some kind of thyroid imbalance. Thank you to all them, the poison we've been giving.
Yes, and the thyroid's very much connected to a lot of the other things in your body. If your thyroids aren't working well, your mental health isn't well, you tend to gain weight, you tend to not be healthy. Thyroid is very important. You have your T4 and your T3s. Usually people, it's like when one hormone goes off, all the other hormone goes off, whether it's your pancreas, your thyroid, your adrenal glands, your pineal gland, everything has to work in balance. And when something's off, the thyroids are usually one of the ones that could really mess you up. People get goitered, that stuff they get in their neck, and it affects mental health. My mother had the bipolar issue because she was missing a thyroid, and although she was taking thyroid medication, the synthetics are never the same.
John Osborne says, waiting for the pole shift, then I'll be right. Sorry.
It could be, and maybe that's why a lot of us are, are bipolar because of that.
She said, I looked on menopause as release from the disease to please, created by estrogen.
Yes. Yep. Estrogen is,
the disease to please
created by yeah. But I think that only happens in NATO women because a lot of trans women that are on synthetic estrogen don't have the need to please. On the contrary, a lot of them have the need to hold in more so than anything else.
Joder means to annoy,
yeah.
To cause trouble.
Trouble, yes. Totally.
To be a troublemaker.
Yes.
Hold on.
So where did we leave off?
Our Spanish lesson for today is joder.
Yeah, joder is the verb.
Yes.
And jodón is the noun, right?
The masculine.
The masculine. No.
And jodona.
No, jodón is either or.
Oh, it's either or.
That's not a, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Jodón, jodona.
No,
yeah. Jodona, yeah. I think both, either or. But anyway, yes.
I know you had to pay for that.
Yes, but we gave you a Spanish lesson, and Amparejo got it completely.
Yay says, hi, everyone. Just stop by to say hi.
Well, hello, yeah.
Hi,
and thank you for stopping by. So I forgot where we're at.
To breed and keep your man fed and happy.
Yeah. Yes, but, that's NATO women. But yeah, so hopelessness, is that where we're at now?
Yep.
In life, there's sadness and grief and sorrow. They aren't fun, but they don't disable a person. Hopelessness, on the other hand, has no room for optimism. Cracks of light that sneak through the darkness. There is a moroseness. I've never heard that word before. Moroseness about hopelessness that family members,
a sadness,
I guess, yeah, and family members and friends can easily detect. Yes, expressionless eyes, hollow cheeks, an absence of personality, the presence of hope distinguish sadness from depression.
She said, the world is filling with gray-haired women saying no.
That's right, because you're tired after all these years saying yes all the time. So no is right on target for this day and age.
Just buy him a vibrator. Withdrawal from family and friends and a lack of interest in activities. According to the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, 5th edition, DSM-5, apathy toward activities once enjoyed and withdrawal from familiar people, places, and things can indicate the down cycle of bipolar disorder. Depressed folks are no longer energized by music, art, sports, or any pursuit that once generated a sense of purpose and meaning. They isolate and want to be alone.
Now, I want to point out that the manic state is, when you're like, go, 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 you can't sleep, you're all excited. It's usually you're on a project. We see that a lot in transgender individuals. They're on the mission, to change themselves. And then when they've changed themselves and they can't change themselves no more, they hit a plateau, they go into this apathy, withdrawal. They're in a down cycle. They no longer get energized by anything. Nothing they do brings them pleasure. Everything is blah, So change in appetite and sleep. Some people pig out on junk food when they are depressed. Others pick at their food with no interest in eating. Some can't get out of bed, while others lie awake all night. Significant changes in both appetite and weight and sleep patterns, no matter how they manifest, can indicate a depressive cycle of bipolar disorder. Keep track of both, and if they don't regulate within 2 weeks, consider getting help. We know someone personally, trans individual, that there are times they can't get out of bed.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about.
Our friend in Fort Lauderdale.
In Fort Lauderdale, yes. And like that friend in Fort Lauderdale, many I have known, because I've had the privilege of meeting a lot of trans people in my Yeah, in my path.
You know, and it goes for trans guys as well.
Yeah, that too.
They
many of them
refuse
do.
to get out of the house. I mean, I think there's one in Australia that was your friend for a while, who said that he doesn't even like to encounter people.
Yes, but equal opportunity. I know that it happens in both, but I've seen it more in trans women than I've seen it in trans men.
Sure. Problems with memory, concentration, and decision making. During a manic phase, bipolar folks may feel more efficient with their extra energy and decreased need for sleep. However, the crash is inevitable, resulting in a depression that cancels out the Superman effect. According to the National Institute of Mental Health, a depressed cycle brings problems with memory, concentration, and decision-making, which can impair job performance and cause mistakes.
Yes. That's very scary, and that's one of the reasons I think the military does not want transgender individuals in the military, especially if they have gender dysphoria, because they go through this depression. Can you imagine you're going through a depressive state and you're in the middle of war?
Right.
Not so good, I don't think,
Rex is with us.
Hey, Rex. Thank you for joining us.
Rex said, damn, I thought this started at 8:30. What have I missed?
Oh, I know. We have this new program thing set up, and when I actually create the schedule on the program thinking that I created it at the correct time in YouTube, and YouTube throws in a Pacific time. And I noticed that right before we got on, so I had to change it immediately.
That's right.
Yeah,
okay.
But I have to make sure, because this is all new, a new program. But
I love it.
Yeah.
I think it really takes us to another level.
Oh, it does. It's awesome. So did you read or did I? Preoccupation with death and thoughts of suicide. This is another thing that it's, people claim that it's because of gender that they have this, but it's not. It's their bipolar disorder. Finally, please don't ignore obsession about death. For example, thinking about the death of your ancestors, wondering when you will die a natural death, reading obituaries in the paper or any suicidal ideation, even hypothetical thoughts of how you would end your life. Seek help immediately.
Rex, we also talked a little bit about Adam and Eve, and the original, mitochondrial Adam or Eve wasn't actually just two people, that it could have been thousands of humans, that were part of a plan, and purposed creation here on this planet, that, we are all really being duped by powers that be.
Yeah, we can even do that when Rex, you're on camera. There you are.
What's his name?
Hung, yes.
William Hung.
William Hung, yeah. This needs to go up to a little heart. Dottie's heart. Gosh.
Oh, nice.
So, yes.
Love that.
Yes.
Let's take a look at this theory. Are there real differences between men and women?
I totally believe that there are.
Is the fight from different sides, from feminists, conservatives, lefties, and everything in between, right or wrong? You be the judge. Okay, so we're gonna. This was actually an article that talked about 50 different differences between men and women, boys and girls. So I only picked 20 because it gets pretty long, but I think you all will get the gist. Now, obviously, there's no such thing as a male brain or a female brain. I think brains are pretty much developed. They start off as neutral. And then depending on environment, depending on chemical, depending on hormonal bathing, depending on how you're raised, your brain starts to develop. Then depending on your personality, depending on certain things. So, everything that this says, I don't fully agree with it. I just think it's interesting, and I think it's something great for discussion. One of the things that we want to start doing in our show is kind of, since we are a couple and we've lived both as male and female, almost like a Dear Abby, Dr. Ruth, and trying to really with couples therapy, or even just getting to know thyself, and not to say that we're the most expert in anything, but I think we've, been around
a little bit, and since been
experiences.
So
unique experience.
Yeah. So I think that this article is pretty apropos. getting to know you.
Getting to know.
Right. And yeah, it's one of those things. Because the more we learn, the more we grow, the more we evolve, the better it is, folks, right? So brain scans, control studies, evolutionary psychology, and anthropology demonstrates that men and women are not the same. We are physically and mentally different. We input, process, and deliver information differently. We evolve with different priorities, and we are marinated in different combinations of hormones. This leads to a misaligned interpretation of reality, which creates conflict, not only in our love lives, but in our family lives and the lives of our children. The following is a list, and like I said, I'm not putting all 50. I picked and choose the ones I thought were apropos of these differences. Perhaps if we were aware of them, we can interact with more empathy and better logic. Isn't the name of the game to, become better lovers, become better partners, become better friends, become better parents? So if we understand our workings, then I believe that we could accomplish that and more.
Brenda says, hi, beautiful Lynn and Mark. Hi, everyone.
Hello, Brenda.
Hi, Brenda. And she said, it says, I monitor my family for that process of thought, suicide, fixation, self-harming, fear. Yeah. And the body is like the basic hard drive that runs programs installed and viruses over years.
Definitely. Very true. Very true.
And yeah is leaving us. Take care, y'all. Wishing everyone a blessed evening.
Thank you for joining us.
Oh,
yes.
Hugs.
What's up, hugs?
Women are trickier, Amparijo says.
They can be.
Trickier.
They can be. I know that raising little kids, when you have a girl and when they're going through their puberty, they're a handful. My sister was a handful. My gosh, was she a handful? Because my sister and I are 8 years apart. And excuse me, when she went through her puberty, oh wow, that was very challenging for my parents and even myself, because I kind of raised her. My mom kind of went, here, learn how to change diapers. I was 8 years old.
So men and women don't see the same way. From the very start of light hitting the retina to the information arriving in the cerebral cortex, this process is different in males and females. For example, the male retina is thicker. It has more M cells, magnocellular. M cells are larger and are distributed across the retina. M cells are responsible for tracking the movement of objects.
So there is an actual biological difference in the retina of male and female. The female retina is thinner. It has more P cells, the parvocellular. P cells are smaller and concentrated around the center of the retina. P cells are responsible for identifying objects and analyzing textures and color, has been documented in other mammals.
I think it's funny because it's like, enter a room, ask a man what he sees. He's not going to tell you more than, there's a table, there's a chair, there's this. And with regards to what a woman would see, she sees the polka dot colored, Afghan, the mauve colored couch, the herringbone, it's like all these different patterns.
And it's like, oh, honey, if you look at that and this, that, and it's, what do you think that is? Because the mother has to protect the cub, the baby. So she's got to be very aware of the environment. If there's something moving near a tree that's not meant to be there, she's going to know. Dad is like, do. But mother bear, mother whatever it is going to be very mindful of every intricate thing that's out there. And Rexa thinks it's time for me to start dating again. Well, yeah.
Nice.
I lost some trust towards women over the years, but it's about being around positive vibrations, and there are great women out there to get to know.
I'm sure.
Totally. And that's worth, for any ladies out there looking for an awesome individual with a big heart, lots of love to give. Rex Clark, who does not look like that icon, by the way, is the man for you. So maybe we should have like a little dating thing going on.
Yeah, the dating game.
Dating game or something.
We'll have like, anonymous women.
Yeah.
one bachelor or
and
bachelorette.
they all have to be spiritually awakening individuals that, none of this fakeness, because, that we all know that that's all part of the meat suit gallery. We need spiritual, we need real, we need minimalists, we need people that are willing to rise up to the vibration that's needed to make things happen.
So Rex says, but this Rex will never get married. And she said, enjoy Rex. I'm not looking after another man. She said, it says.
I hear you, right? They can be a handful.
And then Rex says, I just have seen so many men destroyed with divorce.
It can do that to you. It really can. It's really sad. But you know what? It's because women and men have not been taught to communicate. There's like some sort of interference in the communication department, and I think it all stems from how we're being raised. The state is raising your kids. Parents are out busy trying to make ends meet. A mom can't sit there and teach the boy how to, be a loving individual, and knowing how to balance the strength with the weaknesses. And the same thing goes for women, so it's like we've all lost our way. We've all lost that beautiful harmony and balance that we need to have, and that dance that we need to create when we're with one another. But it's going to come back, folks. I feel it in my bones. Things are going to return back to normal, and the species is going to finally rise up.
Female babies like faces. Male babies like moving objects. This isn't surprising since, as we just learned, males and females see differently. Over 100 infants were studied on the day of their birth. They were given a choice between looking at a young woman's face or a dangling mobile. The researchers were not told the sex of the babies while they recorded their eye movement. The boys were twice as likely to prefer gazing at the mobile, and the girls were more likely to look at the face.
Isn't that interesting? Why Gender Matters is the name of the book where this is from. And, it's innate. Certain things are innate, it is what it is. In the first few months of life, a baby girl's eyes contact and mutual facial gazing will increase by over 400%, while the boys will show significantly less improvement. And this is the female brain, an original study that was done.
Females hear better than males. In the brain centers for language and hearing, women have 11% more neurons than men. Females not only hear better, but can discern between a broader range of emotional tones in the human voice. This is probably because women evolved to be nurturers. So hearing and interpreting their infants' cries is kind of an important skill.
And again, these are all things that are innate due to what we do reproductively. It's like women don't just have boobs just to flaunt around so guys could they're there to feed the babies. Everything, we're animals, folks. This meat suit is just an animal. That's all we are. Now, we are evolved beings when we tap into our spirit. That's why the spirit is what counts, because the outer body is just based on reflexes and things that were created there for a purpose. And the purpose that we were created not only to be slaves, but to multiply and be fruitful.
She said, it says, live with them for 3 years, plus here they legally have same rights as wife. And Rex says, it's sad. The state seems to give people incentives to get divorced. But I think that the whole marriage thing is a major scam.
Totally is. Totally is. And Danny Flo says, I've given up on wanting to ever get married. I think I need to learn how to be happy for myself first. That's important. You need to discover who you are, what makes you tick, what are your likes, your dislikes, what do you have to offer? What do you have to bring on the table to that relationship? Because a relationship is give and take. And what tends to happen is people get together and one is broken and the other one is not as broken. And then, the whole dynamic really gets thrown off. So that's a good thing that you're, I don't know if you should give up completely, but maybe working within so that the proper mate shows up, because I truly believe that happens. When you are finally prepared and ready, that soul will enter your life.
Danny, we must, well, Rex says, for sure, Danny, always do what is best for you.
Totally.
And Dottie says, Danny, we must not depend on others to make us happy.
Yes.
And Danny says, that's for damn sure, LOL.
Yes.
And Rex says, absolutely, Dottie. So many get married to satisfy others, and they never seem to have the time to learn about themselves and their dreams.
Correctly. So true, Rex. And I believe that relationships, you know, not everyone's meant to be in a relationship, because a perfect relationship, a relationship that works, it's like a dance. You know, when you see two people dancing on the dance floor that are really good at dancing, and they move, and their choreography is so perfect, and, you know, woman knows how to go down while a man does whatever and flips her up and brings her down. It's a beautiful dance. And when that works, it's a beautiful relationship. It's a partnership. It's a best friend type of situation. It's something that is, the two will become one. So not everyone is there, and not everyone is meant to have that, you know, until they're able to work the stuff that's going on inside of them.
She said, after this tour of duty caring for my mom, I'm going to do some travel. Where are you going to go? Where are these places that you have in mind?
No one should project expectations on others. Yes.
And it's your turn.
Okay, and it's a skill we're born with. A study of infants on the day of their birth show that girls will respond more to the cries of another baby than boys. Hey, soft-spoken female teachers, before you label a boy with attention deficit, try moving him to the front of the class. He probably can't hear you. That is...
Wow.
That or can't see.
Simple answer.
Or can't see, you know, because sometimes we don't get glasses till later on, and then you feel embarrassed. You can't see the blackboard, or you can't hear the teacher. And so now you get bored, and you're like, go elsewhere.
Music affects us differently. Premature baby girls who received music therapy had fewer complications, grew faster, and were able to be discharged earlier than the ones that did not. There was no effect on premature baby boys.
Interesting. Males will automatically block out certain sounds. A study of adults in the Netherlands monitored the brain activities of 17 to 25-year-old males and females as they process white noise and music. The females had an intense response to both sounds. The males responded to the music but deactivated to the white noise as if they didn't even hear it.
This may be because during male fetal brain development, testosterone impacts the formation of the auditory system, making it block out unwanted noise and repetitious acoustic stimuli. This is a big issue in most male-female relationships. A girl will say something and the guy won't hear her. She will repeat herself several times, which makes his brain register her voice as unwanted, repetitious acoustic stimuli, white noise. And before you know it, it devolves to he never listens and she's always nagging.
Yep. And a lot of us will get stuck in a feedback loop of behavior, creating a fascinating chicken or the egg scenario. Does mom say the same thing 500 times because my dad doesn't hear her? Or does my dad tune her out because she repeats herself? That folks, to me, you know, and it doesn't matter if you're trans, if you've transitioned, it's like, it is so like spot on. You know?
So she said it says she'd like to go to Australia, the UK, Spain. And Brenda says, I'll go with you. And she said it said those fjord cruises look awesome, but expensive. They would seem to be kind of cold too, I would think. Rex says New Orleans was my spot, but I stopped drinking years ago and it's not as fun.
Yeah, there's certain places that, you know, you used to go before when you engage in certain behaviors, and then you stop engaging in those behaviors, so it's not fun. We don't drink anymore either, so I can't even imagine being around a lot of heavy drinking. It's kind of like, you know, you get it's a different. It's like when you stop drinking, your world just changes, and for the better. I totally believe. Yeah, says hi again, everyone. I apologize for not introducing myself. I'm a heterosexual 60-year-old woman who doesn't judge anymore. It's not my God-given right to judge others. Well, thank you, yeah. I mean, it's, you know, judgment just kind of creates a separation between everyone on this planet. And although there are times where judging is necessary because you're trying to balance, ourself. And I think self-judgment is something that's needed to know, am I in the right path? Am I in the wrong path? But, judging others really doesn't solve anything. And I'm glad you have come to that conclusion. And it's very good because you're not going to look at the world with different eyes.
Yeah, with eyes of compassion.
Compassion, yes.
So Brenda says there are some good info on travel frugal tips. And Rex says, my next trip is Pacific Northwest. That'd be fun.
Yes.
Brenda Callan, if you book a cruise at the last minute, you get great deals.
Yeah, I used to cruise a lot. I lived in Florida, so I used to get a lot of good deals. But then after a while, cruising becomes because it's kind of like the same thing. You pig out, you watch shows, you hang out by the pool.
Everything's in excess, right?
Yeah.
It's like all in excess.
Excess, yeah. But for those that haven't been on many cruises, it's something to do.
It's exciting.
It's exciting, yeah.
So Yeye says, Rex says, age, gender, not important, Yeye. We love all here.
Exactly. And Yeye says, I stumbled across this channel a week or so ago and fell in love with the Cummings honesty. Well, thank you, Yeye. I appreciate you.
Rex says, still the vibe in New Orleans is amazing. The food, the music, it's great.
We stopped there when we were on our 90-day journey, was it?
Yeah, we had a shrimp po' boy and we had some beignets and Café du Monde coffee.
Yes, a lot of rich foods. You can't get much of healthy anything in New Orleans. It's like,
no,
you got to have to forget about health for the day or two that you're there. But Dottie says, no one here judges. This is the zone, the love zone. Definitely, Dottie.
The love zone.
That's worth putting up there. No one judges. This is the zone, the love zone.
The love zone.
Reminds me of the love boat.
The love boat. Soon we'll be making. We're dating ourselves.
Yes, we are.
I take care of my 3 grandkids, said yay.
Wow.
They don't judge you, Phoenix. Hi, Phoenix.
Hey.
They just school you. Much love.
Oh, Phoenix.
Judgment is the after effect of expectations. She said it.
Yes. Yes. And Dottie says, hi, Phoenix. I am much loved.
Hence the reason I don't get much free time. She's taking care of her 3 grandkids.
Must be a handful, but it must bring you lots and lots of joy.
Well, they're like 50 and 35 and 28.
Something I will never be able to experience because I had no children. So that's a part of my life that will be void. But I have you guys.
And I had kids, but I don't really think that I'll ever be able to see grandkids.
Never say never, though. Never say never. Never is not a word that should ever be part of the, because that brings negativity,
It's not negative. It's just reality.
Well, no, but reality can be changed. And
it only changes when others choose to change.
Well, we never know. Yeah, never know. Yeah means grandmother in native. Wow.
Nice.
Want
to see New Orleans, but after the flooding, a lot of historical stuff is gone.
Yeah.
There's still a lot.
Yeah, New Orleans is pretty
New Orleans didn't get totally pummeled. I mean, it was the areas that weren't going to be as historical, but the actual French Quarter and, downtown New Orleans is still, pretty vibrant.
Hey, Gail. Thank you for joining us.
I didn't know that, Phoenix. Yay, says. 5, 9, and 10. Oh, my goodness. That's a handful. 5, 9, and 10.
Especially
crazy
the 9
little
and
people.
10. The 5 is still kind of the 9 and 10. They're in that getting ready to become teenagers, junior high kind of thing. And
no, they're not.
10 years old, you're going to.
They're not teenagers.
Well, 10.
They're like in 3rd grade.
But getting ready. What is it? You start. I'm too old to remember school ages anymore.
Gail says, marriage reassessment, a word of regret. I'm sorry. I felt the coldness in our marriage and I've done nothing. I'm so sorry. A word of confession. I'm sorry. Lena, I have 3. I don't get to see, so I use other people's kids for the laughter they bring. Yeah, that's all you can do. when you can't see them.
It's really hard, Gail, I'm sure, to feel that coldness. It's like you kind of wonder how two people could be madly in love, and all of a sudden as the years go by, that the marriage just starts to like fall apart and the passion is no longer there. And if people aren't willing to put work, because marriage takes a lot of work, it's like going to the gym to build muscle. You can't expect to look at your muscle and go, all right, grow. It takes work. It takes understanding. It takes compassion. It takes communication. I think that is the number one key, communication.
Oh, and here's the next topic. Females can verbally express their emotions better than males.
See?
The key word here is can, as in have the ability to. This is not, as some will have you believe, a difference caused by societal gender norms. This is a legitimate brain difference. MRIs were used to examine how emotion is processed in the brains of girls and boys from the ages of 7 through 17.
So, yeah, as I was saying before, it's like it's important to communicate and it's important to cultivate a garden. If you don't cultivate a garden, you're not going to reap from the fruits and vegetables. So marriage takes a lot of work. And I'm sorry, Gail, about that.
Willis joins us. Hi, Willis Morgan.
Hey, Willis.
Willis says, my wife, Karen, took the kids and I see them on the weekends.
Oh, wow. Well, at least you get to see them on the weekends. And Gail says, a word of commitment. You were probably wondering if I'm going to be here. I am. I don't know how, but we're going to do it. That's right. That's right.
Thank you guys for your concern, but I've been there and made my way back with these principles.
As long as you know where you're at, Gail, and you're making peace with everything that's going on and not blaming yourself, because a lot of times women blame themselves and they think, what did I do wrong? And it's nothing that you did wrong.
Phoenix said, but it does hurt. Trust me. My daughter and I are like oil and water. I raised my grandson until the age of 3. Then she took them all from me. Oh, wow.
So anyway, you did nothing wrong, Gail, and know that. And I think you know that. I think that you know that sometimes just people aren't compatible. Sometimes people just don't speak the same language and they're not willing to, because even those that don't speak the same language, if they're willing to communicate and work through things and evolve, then the marriage can be saved.
And I can't imagine what it'd be like, to be my ex-spouse on the other side of this whole equation and to have to live with the reality of what has taken place in her life.
Yes.
And to not be able to have that system of life that served so well for so long, but I really do wish that someday something could be done in order to be able to see my children again.
Well, definitely. And Willis says, hey, I'm an artist. I express my emotions more than any female in my school. There are artist wannabes. You know what? I want to add, Willis, that in this day and age, there's a lot being done that alters the natural brain chemistry, from the chemicals that we are introduced to the foods we're eating, through the environment, because now, there's a different environment. And children are raised in a different environment and our brains are very malleable. So as an artist, you are tapping into parts of your brain that are more female in nature. And so that's why you are able to express your emotion more. So the artwork in itself, what you're doing, whether it's painting or working with ceramics, is creating parts of the brain it's stimulating parts of the brain that will bring that emotion in. So just because only females are not the only ones that have that, may have that in there if it's properly stimulated, through either artwork or things of that nature. So I want to point that out. And Phoenix I Am says, I will be fine. I know this. Another time, another place. Okay.
And Willis is playing on Friday the 13th.
Wow. And Gail says, I know it now for sure.
What do you play?
I'm gonna take a guess. I'm just thinking drums or guitar.
I sing a guitar.
Guitar was my first choice, but now I don't know why I'm thinking drums went in my head. So what do you play, Willis?
Gotta go for now. Unfortunately, much love and blessings to all the Cummings fam.
Thank you, Yaya.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. So what do you play, Willis?
Drum roll, please.
Oh, Willis.
Suspense.
Suspense. What do you play?
Drums.
That's what I'm thinking, drums,
Drums.
right? Because originally guitar came in my head, but then drums kind of like went in. So, Willis, no pressure.
Rex.
Dun, 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 dun. Okay.
Have a good night. Yeah.
Good night. Yeah.
Much love.
All right, so we're going to keep reading since Willis is keeping us in suspense.
I know. They found that in children, negative emotions were localized in the primitive areas of the brains. Oh, that was your turn. Sorry.
The amygdala, this part of the brain has few direct connections to the language and reasoning center in the cerebral cortex, which is why it is difficult for most kids to verbally express how they feel.
Oh, I play Friday the 13th, a game for my Xbox.
Dun, 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 dun. Okay. That's
the new
good.
format is outstanding. Well done.
I'm glad you like it.
Thanks, Rex.
Awesome.
Thanks, William. John Osborne says, keeping an open heart and mind and yet protecting them as well can be a challenge we must all face or look at for sure.
That deserves being up on the screen there.
Highlighted.
I love this stuff. It's like you guys get to be highlighted.
Gosh, the interaction.
It's just awesome.
It's going to take our show to a new
level
of excitement.
All right. So,
and if you see others following suit in using powered by StreamYard.
Yeah. Tell them Real Talk with the Cummings censure. No.
Yeah.
So.
Love you all so much. Thank you, Mark and Lena. Good night, all. It's Granny's bedtime.
Okay.
Oh, good night, Dottie. And thank you again for your very generous donation.
Thank you.
We are
so much
grateful. So grateful.
We get that RV, or what is it? The Phoenix Cruiser. We want to
cruise on over
to you, and definitely lots of loving.
Then in adolescence, a large portion of the brain activity associated with negative emotion moves up from the amygdala to the cerebral cortex, but this change only happens in girls.
A study from Germany duplicated this finding and went on to conclude that both positive and negative emotions are processed differently in males and females post-puberty.
Imagine what happens then when they block puberty in a gender.
It's disastrous. People don't even have a clue. See, unless you know the medical ramifications, unless you've studied medicine and gone to medical school, as I have, you don't realize the craziness that's being created here. What's happening to this vessel when you do the things that you do to it.
Willis Morgan says, your chat might be a little delayed. Probably that's why I kept you on the edge of your chair.
Okay. I don't know if it's because of the program that's delaying it, but
that's all right.
That's all right.
Looks good.
Yes.
So judging by this, it's no surprise that men rarely want to talk about it. Men are wired to avoid contact with others when they're going through a rough time, and even report thinking women will want to do the same. So before you get mad at your boyfriend for his silence, remember that it's literally difficult for him to verbalize his feelings.
Yeah. So boys naturally use movement to think. Boys and girls of grade school age were studied to see how long it took them to solve conceptual math problems. I hate math.
Oh, good night, John.
Hey,
Thank you. Thanks for joining us, John.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us. So the boys solved the problems faster than the girls.
The researchers noted that when asked to explain how they got the answer, most of the boys gave an explanation without using any words. They wiggled, acted, and gestured their process. Words were a barrier. And, you know, the typical male acknowledgement, what did you run into when you transitioned? Guys walking down the street, looks at you, and what do? Do they say hello? Or do they give you a, right?
It's one of those, I had to quickly learn.
Did you ever have that?
What is that?
Did you?
I'm like, what is it doing?
Did you ever have that as a female?
Never.
Do females ever go?
No, they go, "Hi, honey, how are you?" You know, that kind of stuff. And the guy's just like, so the first time somebody did that, I was like, "Oh, okay, quickly, return the favor."
Did you hurt your neck?
Kind of, yeah. I was like, what is that? It was like, and not like, "How you doing, man?" You know, it's like the dude in me honors the dude in you. Like, it was like, okay, well,
it's like a little form of namaste.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
The male form.
I kind of thing. Yeah. Weird.
So, over the what's that? The researchers.
Okay, weird.
So over the following few weeks, the researchers taught the girls to explain their answers with movement, and then retested everyone. The girls were now able to solve the math problems as quickly as the boys.
Yeah, because girls usually don't, you know, or like when people get mad. It's like one of those, like, that means we're going to fight in a minute, you know? There's different kind of movements. I had to learn that. At first I was like, ay, Dios mío, what is this, you know? But
Brenda, she said it says, they think logically.
Yes. And let's see here.
Brenda says many ADHD kids are getting medicated. Food allergies should be looked into before medicating.
Totally. And instead of medicating, why don't we look at what's going on? They could be bored out of their minds. Kids aren't meant to sit in a school desk for 8 hours a day listening to somebody go wah, 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 wah. And especially if they're boys, it's a lot harder for boys.
Isn't that funny how the cartoon, you know, Peanuts,
wah, wah,
actually,
wah, wah.
you know,
Yeah.
whenever there was a teacher in the room and stuff, and they were in a classroom, it was this wah, 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 wah.
Yeah, totally.
So she said at home says, I refuse to medicate my child. It took out the sugar, artificial coloring, etc., and that worked. He was 5, FFS.
I know. And it's like, if you fill your kids up with food dyes and sugars and expect them to sit all that time in a chair listening to a boring lecture, what do you expect? Kids should be out there hands-on learning, you know, with movement and things, you know.
Phoenix says, no meds for this diet. Ask Mark.
Exactly.
And then she said, sort his food and screen time out.
Yes.
Phoenix says, I have extreme ADHD. I control it. I went down the med road and they do not work for me.
I hear you. I have extreme ADHD as well. I mean, as I'm sitting here, I'm like, my legs are going like this. And if I don't like really focus on paying close attention, I'll be like, doo, 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 that kind of thing. And Brenda says, yes, no medication. None, zilch. Medication stunts your heart, stunts everything. It's bad for you.
Danny says, I'm gay, but I've always thought that girls generally are more intelligent, have more personality, and are more interesting.
I would have to agree with you, Danny. Nothing against, you know, the male species, but, you know, yes, I would have to agree that, you know, that is pretty on target.
I think that's because the XX chromosome is actually the original human.
Yes.
I really do.
And I think the Adam Project was like, you know,
a combination with the ape.
Yeah.
Literally.
The apes go.
Uh-huh.
You know,
they puff their chest
and they do what it is thing. And if you give them eye contact,
I know.
You're in trouble. You better run fast. Yeah,
that's the thing.
That's the thing. Yeah,
it's like, yeah. So Phoenix, you talk to me on the phone. I race with what I have to say, always in fast mode.
Yes.
Did the hormones increase your ADHD, Mark?
You know, it's been so long. I started hormones back. Actually, I was on bodybuilding hormones from 1998. And I'm trying to remember, I don't know. When I lived in my female expression, I had a lot of anxiety because I had an excess amount of estrogen. I was very estrogen dominant. When you have a lot of estrogen, it kind of converts into androgen. And I've always been very androgenic.
You should share that picture on the cruise ship of you being estrogenic.
I would have to look it up. But so I was very anxious because I had excess amount of estrogen that converted to X amount of androgen. So that was a hormonal nightmare, the worst periods ever. And I had ADHD in school. I hated school. I was like, oh my God, it was like a nightmare for me. So I don't know if testosterone really helped it. I think I still have the same amount of ADHD that I had back then. It hasn't changed.
It hasn't?
No, not at all. Not at all. But let's see here. No, I'm going to see if I could find it. I probably could.
I can find it here and
but then
just put it in front of the camera.
No, but that ain't going to be the same. Let me see here. This one?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Are there natural alternatives to help with your transition off of hormones?
I have to sign this off. Okay, then I have to do this. Oh, that's not it. I still have to share screen, go in here, go there, and go here. That's highly estrogenic.
Are there any natural alternatives to help with your transition off of hormones?
I'm not taking anything except for suma root, which is an herb. It's what do they call it? An adaptogen that comes from Brazil. And just my B12 and vitamin C and hawthorn berry. I'm still taking hawthorn berry. It's good for, I started taking that for my blood pressure. My blood pressure is beautifully normal now, 106/60 something. But I still had some left over, so I'm just taking it. When it runs out, it runs out. But yeah, look at that. Look at them bazookas. Look at that belly right there. Dear Lord. Look at that arms. What I do miss the most.
That beautiful head of hair.
I know. Look at those.
And still thighs. That smile is
still there. But
that's still those cheeks and that grin.
Yeah, look at that belly though. My gosh. And see that stuff that I was telling you about that I see women have, and it's hard to train and work out and get it out of the way. Because
look at what you had in your hand. Looked like a beverage.
Yes.
Looked like alcoholic beverage.
Oh, we were in the Keys and we were just having a good old time. Back then I was like, yeah. But yep.
Was that your color hair?
Yep. That was my color hair.
Like a light brown, red? Was it red?
That was because I used to be in the sun a lot. So I kind of like did that kind of thing. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yep. Crazy.
So Brenda says in England, they let the children play 3 times a day and they look into foods they are allergic to. They don't medicate at all and structure at home and school.
Yes. Let me go back to this, and there we go. All right. So where were we? It seems that the male and female brain have access to the same circuitry, but use differently circuitry by default.
Groups of boys play differently than groups of girls. Boys, they play in larger play groups. They focus on the game itself, i.e. boys playing a game of football out in the field, while girls are playing hopscotch or something, which they probably don't play anymore. They focus on the game itself, rough and tumble, very competitive, confrontational, establish dominance and test hierarchies, claim territory, monopolize toys, show off their physical strength, struggle for social rank, and are most likely to use threats.
Just like monkeys.
And that right there describes any old neighborhood game of football.
Yeah.
At school.
Just like monkeys. Wow. Girls focus on relationship building, take turns 20 times more often than boys do. More likely to make collaborative proposals like starting their sentence with let's, It's true though. They're pretending. I know it's hard to deal with this, but you saw the others. So their pretend play is usually about caregiving and relationships. We like to play house and nurses and little tea sets and stuff like that. Yeah.
These differences also ring true in our close relatives. For example, a long-tailed male monkey are 6 times more likely to engage in rough and tumble play than a female macaque who prefers babysitting baby monkeys.
By the time boys are in first grade, they get a dopamine rush when they display their power. And some studies have indicated that anonymously agreed upon hierarchies will form in nursery schools and stay stable for at least 6 months. And the boys at the top are not necessarily the biggest. They're the boys who are least likely to back down during a conflict.
Even males, oh, go ahead.
Just like monkeys.
Yep. Even males castrated shortly after birth and raised as females. Well, in other words, trans monkeys.
Yes.
Tend to be the dominant ones in the group.
So transgender females?
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. You know, can't take it. Yeah. Even
you can take Salem out of the country, but you can't take the country out of
Salem. Not at all. Let's see what we got here.
And that would be dating us.
Yes, totally.
You can take Salem out of the country, but you can't take.
Did we read Brenda's?
Salem. Yeah.
We did?
Yep.
Okay. And so my granddaughter is so pooped after school she sleeps. And Phoenix says?
Phoenix?
Yes.
I don't know. I ran, rode bikes, hiked, anything that made me tired, exercising until I passed out.
Yeah. Oh my, says she said.
You know, what's the most interesting thing that group play? About that group play, that when given the option, boys and girls naturally segregate. This only changes when there's not enough kids. Then boys and girls all play together. Could it be that kids prefer playing with those similar to themselves? Documented in the West as well as in hunter-gatherer societies. And, you know, I can remember kindergarten, and that was true. You know. Yeah. Boys play with boys and girls play with girls, and you know, boys had cooties, and you know.
I worked with children. There were times when I did this, working in schools with a lot of kids that they're learning disabled and all sorts of different things, you know, and therapy type of environment, and even kids with disabilities follow the same pattern. The girls would play with the girls and the boys would play. And then when we try to get them to play together, you could feel the discomfort. They weren't like, girls got cooties, get away from me, that kind of thing. You know?
That's kind of sad. She said it says poor animals experimented on.
Oh, I know. They do it all the time.
Castrating them.
I know. It's horrible. It's horrible stuff.
Danny says, I always prefer playing with the girls in elementary.
Well,
she said it says I play with boys.
Yeah, well, because a lot of times, you know, if you don't feel that your personality fits, it's one of the things kids are very good at reading cues, you know, and if you feel the discomfort amongst your peers, you know, because you're not like them, you're different, your personality is totally different. Obviously, if you're a gay man or a gay boy and you had those more feminine tendencies, you wouldn't feel comfortable being rough and tumbling around and being, you know, you want to be with the other girls where they're like talking and communicating and playing house, because that's what your personality was more inclined to. I mean, that's,
she said, it said, I play with the boys and I understand them. They are logical.
Right. You know, it's like I played with my cousins and we used to fight, rumble and stuff, you know, and it's like I used to always win because I was always taller.
I played with my girl cousin when I was like a little kid, and didn't really like playing with my boy cousins.
Right, because we didn't speak the same language, hormonally wise. The way we were raised and whatever was different. So boys are more likely to take risks. Researcher in Missouri studied the responses of kids that rode a stationary bicycle while watching a hyper-realistic stimulation. When confronted with a hazard, the boys were much slower to brake than the girls. If it was real, many of the boys would have been seriously injured. The boys also reported feeling excited during a simulated collision, while the girls reported feeling fearful.
And Danny, it was Phoenix said, I was raised in farmland and girls were not around, so I was friends with boys. I still never had a woman as a friend, cannot relate to gossip and shopping. Sorry.
I hear you. Yep.
And Danny says, the boys at my school were crude and rough. The girls were refined.
All right. Now notice that this is the typical. Now there's always individuals that fall away from the typical, many reasons, upbringing. If you were raised, you know, to be an adult, there are some kids that are not allowed to be kids. They have to be, because their parents are either alcoholic, their parents are not very responsible. So the kid automatically reads the cue and they become the little adult. They become the caregiver. They're always alert and worried. So playing games is not the thing to do because you have to be that adult. So depending on your environment, depending on your upbringing, depending on how your parents treated you would depend how your brain, because remember, the brain is malleable. It's not written in stone. Things change according to your environment because as animals, we need to change with our environment.
There's a woman that was on the Healing documentary, and she struggles with some major skin issues, and they flare up with these boil-like symptoms and stuff like that. And she has a mother who has been, challenged mentally for a long time. So this little girl had to become basically this mother's mother,
right.
And to take over that role. And she basically couldn't be a child. And she's lived with this guilt, with this sense of like, oh my gosh, I don't forgive myself for, or forgive others for not being who they were supposed to be in my life.
Yeah.
Like her dad abandoned her at a young age. Her mom wasn't there to be her mother. So she had to become this other person,
Yeah.
So, and those things form what we end up dealing with as adults. We end up not being able to have meaningful relationships because we don't know what it's like. We didn't have it demonstrated to us.
Right.
So, yeah.
And Danny says, well, the boys at my school were crude and rough. The girls were refined. A lot of the rude and crude behavior, sometimes it's not even just that the brain, although it's hardwired that way, but a lot of times the fathers play rough with their boys. And then they learn from their fathers, so they mimic that behavior in the schoolyard. If your father, Danny, never played roughhouse with you didn't have that, and you didn't become raised that way, your brain got shifted differently. Maybe your mom was gentler with you and you were more, around your mom, and you had more treatment with your mom than you did with your dad. So you learned the refinement of the female by what you were raised.
I think it's beautiful that, that there's this one dad in this show that we watched, The Rock does it, called the Titan Games or something. Yeah. And there's this one guy who just loves his little boy.
Oh, gosh,
he is like, he's a single dad. He works hard. He wakes up every morning, gets the kid ready for school, takes the kid to school, does his job and everything. But he lives and dies for his son. And he's demonstrating so much character to his son, so much powerful, essence that little boy is going to really, really appreciate that.
Oh, gosh,
he's going to use it to be a positive influence.
Exactly. And a lot of it's upbringing. A lot of things are internal. They're within you. Could be genetic, generational, but a lot of it's also environmental. How were you raised? I know my father wanted a boy. And my father would bring me boy toys, and my mom would have fits because my mom wanted me to be ladylike. And so, I appreciated more of the boy stuff than I did the other, because the way my mom presented things was always in such a, oh, here, this is what you need. And my father was like, hey, look what I got you,
Yeah.
And it's just, kids read body language, you kind of, it's really an interesting thing.
She said it's a women, sheesh. She said it. The girls at my school were like mothers. And then Phoenix says, you can have the Barbie. I want the bike. Yeah. And then Phoenix says, same, Phoenix.
Yeah.
Yes, looking after sibling, making tea, cleaning, ironing, all from the years of 7 and 8. And Phoenix says, I was the girl the boys ran from. Then I got boobs and they really ran from me. Haha. Are you me, Phoenix? She said it. 36, 26, 36. They ran and never came back. Men wanted me, and that was very confusing. Now I'm old and happy.
And Danny says, that's true. That's what happened. Spot on, Mark.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's, psychology has been my thing. And, as an occupational therapist, I know human behavior, and human behavior follows patterns. That's pro-wrote. So
males are more likely to die from an accident than females. As mentioned, men are more likely to take risks and overestimate their ability. Psychologists at Boston University figure that this is probably why almost all drowning victims are males.
Boys are way more likely to do dangerous things, especially if other boys are around, because they like to show off. They're way less likely to listen to the warning of their parents and way less likely to tell anyone if they had an accident.
U.S. data shows that boys are more likely than girls to be seriously hurt or killed in accidents like the misuse of a firearm or a head injury from riding a bike. And this goes even deeper. Let's say the same amount of women and men were to get head injuries, the damage would still be worse in men.
Research at Children's Hospital in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania discovered that there are differences in the way brain cells die after injury in male and females. Once brain injury occurs, levels of glutathione, a molecule that helps brain cells survive oxygen deprivation, remain stable in females, yet drops up to 80% in males, resulting in greater brain cell death. This could also be a vital contributing factor to the differences in the overall longevity of men and women.
Males are more likely to exhibit aggression physically, while females are more likely to exhibit aggression verbally. This difference has been well documented in almost all other mammals. The nurture assumption, Judith Rich Harris, we used to blame it on testosterone, but we now know it's because we've evolved to process anger differently.
A male's aggression pathways are more directly connected to brain areas for physical action. Again, everything is created amongst what is needed. You know, the monkeys needed to fight off the other male monkeys. You know, it's everything is very animalistic, very reflective in nature. A female's aggression pathways are closer linked to verbal function. Males have a larger amygdala, which is the center for aggression. So if their aggression center is bigger, obviously they're more prone to aggression.
Females have a larger and faster maturing prefrontal cortex, which is responsible for inhibiting aggression. So that I would think that is directly correlated to girls typically maturing faster than boys do.
Yes, definitely. Males have a more active right amygdala, which is linked to taking action and negative emotions.
Females have a more active left amygdala, which responsible for mental reaction rather than physical reaction.
Yes. Some men have what is called autocatalytic anger, which means it becomes self-reinforcing. It inhibits their fear and actually produces a sensation of pleasure.
Although a woman is slower to act out of anger physically, her verbal response is difficult to stop once it gets going.
Oh, is that so true? These brain differences exist because they've helped our survival. And again, it goes from generation to generation. And now, you know, when there is something not typical, and many Phoenix like to play with boy toys, and same did, she said, again, as I mentioned with Danny, you know, it all depends how we were raised, how our parents raised us, what we saw as growing up. Our brain develops differently depending on the environment, the stimulation of that environment, the personality of our parents and things of that nature.
She said at home, says, I was raised to take responsibility and look after people.
Yep.
And Phoenix says, always take care of people. I do. Has been my job from very young.
Let's see, I lost here. Oh.
Has been my job. Yes, you do. Words heal us, wounded children. Rex says, risk-taking. That's me, LOL, but I am learning to harness my high energy better.
And I think we could surpass all these things because, again, it's our meat suit. It's our reptilian brain. Notice that all this stuff is just mentioning reptilian. You know how you surpass all this stuff is by tapping into your spirit, your light body. That's how, and that's what we're here to learn how to do, surpass our monkey brain and tap into our homo luminous bodies. And Phoenix says, even old children like me.
And Rex says, and make better decisions.
Yes, Rex. And it's all a learning process. She says, yes, better to heal than harm. First must heal self, though. Totally. Very important.
I am too broken. I just accept me now.
Accepting is good. And that talk of being broken, I think we all are broken. I think different degrees for different people, but just the fact that you are aware of it is the beginning of healing. And one's never too old to heal and to grow. Rex says, awesome, Phoenix. And Rex also says,
balanced energy and acceptance are positive for me.
Totally. Self-acceptance and awareness is key to healing. She says, I don't see broken. You're slightly dented, but still viable. I agree with that totally.
And she said, I'm dented too.
We're all dented. We've all been through so much, but the time to heal is now. That's what we're trying to do. Phoenix says the PTSD that is here because of abuse, this is what they can't have back. And return to sender, Phoenix. Return to sender. It does not belong to you. It belongs to somebody else. So return to sender. And you're a beautiful and wonderful human being. Don't ever sell yourself short. There's always healing. There's always growth. And you're doing it. You're here. You're aware. And that's showing up. It's just the beginning of it.
When we had our friend Starla on, and she talked about the trauma that women have had to endure for multiple millennia, it was really telling because, it's like there's people that got into the chat and they were like, I don't think you should be saying that. I think you should kind of restrain yourself.
Right.
And it's like, no, the PTSD is there and we need to finally let go, and come to terms with it and to realize that, there has been a great disservice done to the feminine in this modern society and even the ancient civilizations and stuff. And until we recognize that, we're bound to repeat the same mistakes.
We are. And Rex says, my wild, unbalanced days are over. The life was too crazy. I hear you, Rex. I've had my wild and crazy days too, But the good thing is we evolve, we grow, we change, we forgive, we respect, we understand, and we create new beginnings. And that's what the beauty of it all is.
Well, females are generally smaller than males, so being violent towards someone stronger than you is a good way to put an end to your genetic legacy.
That is very true. And females are often vulnerable because of pregnancy and infants. Their survival is contingent on being part of a social group because females have to band together for protection. Fighting other females can be just as risky to their life.
Another reason females have evolved with brain circuitry that helps prevent physical outbursts is to decrease the likelihood of harming their own children.
Yes, a male survival is linked to his rank, dominance, and power. And these things, even today, can be attained by physical confrontation. Again, we're monkeys.
But aggression isn't necessarily bad. Males are also the valiant defenders of their tribe, their land, and their family. These things all need physical acts of violence.
If you're still unconvinced, look at the modern jungle, high school. Boys fight with fists, girls fight with gossip. Although, mind you, in my day in the high school, I've seen some pretty chola girls. I would I don't want to get into trouble. Never made any eye contact. Pardon me, excuse me. I think
just last year in June, we went to a Latin festival or something like that, and it was there were these chola girls there with their heavy mascara and their dark lipstick and stuff, and I was like, they looked at you, and it was like this. I right away
just went, whoa, because it brought back memories.
It was like the days in El Paso when the Chola girls were
they
totally.
They would literally, I never luckily pissed any one of them off because I never gave eye contact. I kind of stayed out of their way. But when they were mad at anybody, and they wouldn't just fight one-on-one. They'd 4 or 5 would beat up on these white girls, and they would just be beating them up like crazy. I was like, look, I'm Cuban. I'm like, I don't mean, I come with peace,
I'm going to dance for you.
Yeah, I'll dance, I'll sing, because I was in drama classes and acting and in choir and all that stuff. I was a geek back in the day.
Women use both sides of the brain to respond to emotional experiences, while men just use one. A study from Stanford University found that when a female was shown an emotional image, 9 different areas of her brain lit up, while only 2 lit up in men.
On average, women retain stronger memories for emotional events than men. Males and females are not empathic in the same way. We have 2 emotional systems, the mirror neuron system, known as MNS, and the temporal parietal junction system, TPJ. The MNS is responsible for emotional empathy, and it helps one feel what the other person is feeling.
The TPJ is responsible for cognitive empathy. It actually helps one distance themselves from the person's emotions, focusing instead on analytically solving the problem. Both sexes start their empathy process in the MNS, but the male brain quickly switches over to the TPJ.
We see this clash all the time. A woman will tell her man about a problem, looking for emotional support, but he, if unable to actually solve her problem, won't see the value of having a lengthy conversation about it.
The male's mirror neuron systems is also more fragile and can be stunted by pacifier use. The most interesting study that indicates that women are more emotionally empathetic was conducted at the Institute of Neurology in London. They tested couples. First, the women were given a range of electric shocks.
Then their partners were hooked up to the same treatment. It was indicated to the woman when and what kind of shock was being administered to their partner. And even though the females couldn't see or hear their loved ones, the same pain areas of their brains that had activated when they themselves were shocked lit up as they learned their partners were being subjected to the same treatment. Researchers were unable to duplicate the results with males.
Men and women use different parts of the brain during sexual arousal. Women, the ventromedial hypothalamus and cerebral cortex. Sexual experience in women is more connected with the rest of what's going on in her mind and the world around her.
The hypothalamus especially, or specifically...
Wait, you have to go back.
Oh, do I?
Men.
Men. Okay, men. The hypothalamus, specifically medial preoptic area, and the amygdala, the center for anxiety and aggression and fear. The medial preoptic area guides the performance of sexuality, while the amygdala creates the motivation for sex.
Our orgasms, the big O's, affect us differently. In females, the oxytocin and dopamine released after an orgasm makes her want to cuddle and talk. But in males, it's released into their hypothalamus, which triggers the brain's sleep center.
And the back arching response to an orgasm is strictly a female phenomenon. Ah, go figure. Interesting stuff, I tell you. So let's see here. Balance, energy, and acceptance are positive for me, says Rex. Was there anything before that? No. She said, I love.
I'm not sure where you're at.
Right here. I love, I don't see broken. You're all slightly dented, but still valid. Oh, I'm dented too. Okay. You are healing. PTSD is real, I think. I get it from time to time, but it's less and less, and I grow. Yes, very true, Rex. I mean, a lot of people like to label themselves with PTSD, and they hold on to that. You know, and they think they're forever damaged. And I truly believe that we can heal from that. And I think that learning to forgive self, learning to forgive the situation, learning to relive it and understand it so you feel that you own it, so then you can let it go, so you could move on from that. Because if not, it's a vicious cycle that can never, ever be broken. And that's very debilitating.
Phoenix says, 100 abuser, you just don't get over this. You just go on and know you're okay. And Rex says, forgiving myself and others is what's healing me from my PTSD.
Yeah, exactly. And that's, you know, that's important. And not just saying, I forgive myself, like really doing the work. There's work that will help you forgive yourself. Not just saying it, because saying something doesn't really, it's almost like a ritual that you have to go through. Reliving the moment, putting yourself in that person's shoes, you know, trying to understand, trying to have compassion and empathy for the person, for the situation, looking at it in a different view. Sometimes things happen to us in childhood and we look at things through childhood eyes or children's eyes. As we evolve and grow, we could take a look at a situation differently. And even if the situation happened in an adult, we're constantly growing and changing. Our cells are constantly changing in our bodies. So we could start to look at things differently. Stop becoming the victim. You know, that's important.
She said, it says, I use the 5-second rule when I'm triggered.
Yeah. And, you know, breathing, trying to put ourselves in the shoe of the other person, try not to take things personal, trying to be the spectator. Phoenix says, love you too. Time to go to the island of broken toys where it doesn't matter. Oh, Phoenix, come on. We love you.
Misfit toys.
We love you.
I'm busy dismantling my PTSD. She said it.
And you'll do it. You'll do it. I know you will. You're a strong human being, Susan. You really are. Phoenix says, I've been shot, stabbed, raped, and then your government beats me for 2 days. Who the hell cares anymore? Just my family and you guys. Much love. I'm real with real pain. We love you, Phoenix, and we feel your pain, and we honor you and wish nothing more than for you to be able to heal that pain. And pain is good. It serves its purpose. It helps us know we're alive. But there comes a time where we don't have to identify with that pain any longer. And it may take a while, and that's okay. You have to do it in your time. But I believe that if you become aware that the pain serves you, but it doesn't have to be your identity, that there's so much more in you, so much more to give, so much more to unravel, that you can move beyond that pain.
You need to highlight that one.
Yes.
Ask Lucid.
Oh, not this one? Okay, this one right here.
Yeah. Ask, Lucid says, okay, this is amazing. You know, the concept that a child is more awoke than most people would ever be. My daughter would just sent me a quote. Just because a crayon may get broken doesn't mean it can't still color beautiful pictures. Loved it.
Right there.
That is the show right there.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah,
just because a crayon may get broken, just because we may end up being broken by certain circumstances in our lives, just because we may have, you know, been abused, we may have lost loved ones, we may have been misunderstood, we may have struggled with our gender, we may have struggled with our race, you know, we may have been, you know, mistreated by our spouse, but it doesn't mean that we still can't color beautiful pictures with our lives.
As a matter of fact, I believe that the brokenness makes us better people, because we get to look at life differently. We get to grow. A healer needs to be healed first so they could become an effective healer. And I think that all of our stories, every single one of you out there that's watching, every single one of you that's on this chat room, have experienced some sort of brokenness. And that brokenness has allowed you to be a better person. You know, what we need to realize is like, okay, who would we be without that story, without that thought, you know? And we've got to think this through. Who would we be? You know, sometimes the most terrible thing could end up turning out to be the most wonderful thing in the end. You know, sometimes cancer could be your salvation because it got you to look at life differently. It got you to appreciate life. So we must all be grateful, not just for the good things, but also for the bad, because those bad things, they give us character. They help us grow. They help us understand. They help us have compassion for others. And they help us be teachers and healers. Rex says, sorry to hear that, Phoenix. Let me take this out. Favor to you. Let the healing continue. Yes. And Phoenix says,
Ask Lucid, thank you for this. I was really moved by that.
Yes.
That's a beautiful.
Yes. Children are
amazing.
Our biggest teacher.
Amazing.
And at one point we were children too. What happened to us? Where did we get lost? Where did we lose that innocent, that divine nature? Why did we allow that to happen? You know, and that's what we have to. Hello, Darth. Shalom. Hello, brothers. And Phoenix says 27 years of help, and it doesn't. I just deal with it one day at a time.
Phoenix says, this is what sex rings do to dumb girls off the farm that didn't know anything.
But you're not a dumb girl, Phoenix. That's not your label. That's not who you are. You are divinity. You are love. You are perfect the way you are. And your life path was created for a reason. And you're helping many people just by being here, being yourself, educating, loving, and sharing your pain with us. And we feel you. We honor you. We love you. And she said, are you communicating with those in your family who only love you and can really hear you, or you're isolating yourself, Phoenix?
Hi, Darth. How are you? Rex Clark says. And Danny Flo says, I'm from the Texas-Mexico border. I grew up with cholas. They are some very cool and fun girls.
Yes, so if they're your friends, they are. But if they didn't,
if you're on their good side,
it's great, you know. But when you aren't on, you know, yeah, I was just afraid of them, to tell you the truth.
I think they're the only girls that go.
They probably did, and I didn't understand. Maybe I misunderstood the with confrontation. I'm like, oh, I'm going this way.
Yeah,
I was very nerdy, you know, back in the day, and I wasn't a social butterfly, you know, because the whole being cross-eyed and, you know, not feeling that I fit in, so you kind of isolate yourself. So you kind of learn to be afraid of everything that walks.
Shadow.
Yeah, exactly. And Phoenix says, I have an old man of 17 years and my son here. I am fine. You people just give me a place to vent it out. I'm fine, and they will pay for what they have done when my book comes out. That's right.
She said, it says, I'm glad you're writing.
Exactly. That's a great therapy, and going to be helpful for many people.
I thought of doing that too, but it's not in me to seek revenge. 3 books soon come out, and then I have started my 4th one. They will not leave me alone.
Mm-hmm. The writing's been cathartic.
Not revenge. Oh, Rick says, I'm buying your books, Phoenix. Phoenix says, not revenge. I'm speaking up and doing my part to stop it. Mark said so.
Yes, that's right.
Rex, they are for free. Everyone will see these books unless they live under a rock. Awesome, Phoenix.
Yes, and we will promote it here for you on the channel.
Absolutely.
And put it on our website so that people get to hear your story. And she said, the story could hurt others who are moving on from their actions. Hurt people. You don't know what you don't know. And post a link to them, Phoenix.
This is one of the reasons they beat me for 2 days. They don't want it out there. I told them to kill me. I won't stop.
Right.
Hurtful people need to be stopped.
That's right. That deserves to go out there. Hurtful people need to be stopped.
And trust me, you will want this out there and stopped. It is everywhere. Phoenix says, Lucid, I cried. It touched me, and it is hard to get to my heart. That was a powerful.
Yeah, it was. It was, I can tell you, kids have this knowing, this amazing. That's why they're dumbing them down with vaccines. That's why they're stressing them out in school, because they've come down here to light up this world, to help us with this shift that's taking place. The powers to be don't want that. So they're doing everything with their power to hurt our children, and we must stop them. That's why they're confusing their gender. That's why they're putting them on blockers. That's why they're doing everything that they're doing. Vaccines, junk food, you know, chemtrails, everything of nature possible that can naturally be done to individuals being done to destroy them. And Rex says we believe the lie. That is where it started. The lie that we're not good enough. The biggest ones we've learned who we are, divine, sovereign, and free. We're going to win at life and enjoy it. That is very true.
Darth Raven says, how is everyone?
We're doing great. Thank you, Darth. Thank you for asking, and thank you for joining us.
Oh, I wanted to say that we had an amazing buffet on Saturday.
Yeah.
It was so good. I mean, good.
It was.
But like on the way down to Tucson, it was like the weather was just so weird.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it was like those clouds that are just like really like fake, you know, and they look like almost like they were like iridescent or something.
Yeah. And it seemed like It took forever to get there. For the first time, it was strange. So she said, yes, Rex, I'm more than a servant or provider.
Rex says, doing great, Darth. Enjoying the now. That is what I like to do.
That's all we got.
There is no future.
The past is gone. Tomorrow, we don't know what's going to happen. All we have is the now, this moment right here. There's no future. It doesn't exist. There's only this moment. That's right. Love Bill Hicks, the comedian. He was awesome. Thank you, Darth. Darth said, great show.
I had to send them to 3 countries to get it done, Phoenix said, but it's coming.
Awesome. Can't wait. And
black clouds.
Wow. Yeah, the clouds have been really strange as of late, and the weather's been really strange. Danny Flo says, you both are awesome. I enjoy the show, and I'm grateful you take the time to engage with us. It's what makes the show. You guys make the show.
Real Talk with the Cummings and all of our family.
Yes, totally.
You guys. Tucson. Awesome.
Yep. Or it's like a 3-hour drive, but it seemed like forever. Coming back was faster. Getting there, I was like, oh my God, is it me or this thing is like, it's like I felt like we get put in some sort of time loop thing or weird thing. So Darth says, separation from kids at early age does the most damage to others just because they're different. Yeah. Totally.
Live in the moment, Phoenix says. That would be nice. Breathe.
That deserves to be up there. Live in the moment. Breathe. Be in the now. This is all we got. You know, when we engage in the world, like when you're washing dishes or brushing your teeth or doing something, people don't really like become mindful of what they're doing.
No.
People just like to multitask, or you're thinking, or you're doing whatever. Sometimes you're in such automatic pilot that you forget that you've done something. Mm-hmm. So it's important to be present to everything that you do. Engage in that moment. That will elevate you to levels beyond your understanding. Being in the now is what allows you to connect with your higher self. Being grateful as well. Time travelers, we are.
We all are.
Yes.
Yep. Especially if you live close to a time changing zone.
Yes, totally.
Because we travel through time, literally.
Yes, literally.
That is interesting. The time loop in travel. I went from Vegas to New York in less than 2 days, and it felt like 2 hours. Unbelievable. Still can't figure it out.
Yeah. Weird things like that. When you become aware and awake, you start noticing these different things, you know, and it's just like.
He drove it all the way from Vegas to NYC.
Wow, it's a long drive. Well, we've done the Silver City, New Mexico to South Florida. That was like long. We had to stop a couple times to sleep.
Rex says I did that West Coast to East Coast drive about 10 times, and this last one seems so fast. Wow. No hotels either. Just took naps when I was tired.
Oh, yeah.
Napping is good.
Napping is good.
Don't ever drive.
Nonstop like you did and fall off a mountain. That's not good.
Not a good place.
Not a good place at all.
Flying off the cliff, Thelma Louise style, I would not recommend that to anybody.
Nope. That's not a good thing at all.
Phoenix says time is strange lately.
Yeah,
it is. It's like 12 hours is not 12 hours anymore. It's more like 1 hour.
I know. It's crazy.
Except that drive on the way down.
Yeah, that was crazy. The illusion is breaking down. It is. It is. We're finding that the veils are being removed. Time is, you know, there are times where time feels like it goes really fast. And there are times where, like when we driving to Arizona, it seemed like forever. It's weird.
We're going to present to you guys some information that I was reading to Mark on our drive, talking about just how deep the illusion rabbit hole goes. Because, you know, it's like, remember that whole thing about the creation story and how, you know, the earth was created, but then there was light and there was no sun or moon or stars, you know? So it's really interesting how the Bible kind of like tips its hand a bit, you know, about what truly happened and how this whole simulation got even started. So yeah, that's going to happen in a show coming out.
And she says Sunday went on forever, but Monday flew by. Yep. Yeah.
And I like to speed.
I don't recommend it.
My Jaguar. Oh, Jaguar. Wow.
Yeah, we our little blue Prius. That thing, you touch it and it goes pretty fast.
I wouldn't know. I don't drive.
It goes pretty fast. Sometimes I'm like, whoa, 90 miles per hour, and I have to like slow it down.
And the good thing is 50 miles to the gallon.
Yeah, you can get a lot really good.
So if anybody wants a Prius, when we're gonna go sell it, we would love to sell it. You know, to somebody.
So Danny goes, wintertime always seems like it happens out of time and space for me. I don't feel normal till summer. I hear you. I'm not much of a winter person. It almost feels like you're hibernating because it's so cold. You can't go outside as much as you love to. I mean, I like being outdoor in nature, love going for walks, love hiking, just being out, you know, with not so much clothes on. I hate all these clothes. You know, it's like.
Rex says, sleep is so interesting, dreaming and all. Any thoughts on that? And one of the things that I wanted to, you know, highlight was something that Scott Severini said in that interview this morning, talking about how he used to dream and how now that he feels more in touch with his God-like creativeness, that he literally doesn't dream anymore. So he like allows himself to just sink into that peace state, you know? So for those that don't dream or find themselves having these experiences, it might not be a bad thing. You know, it might not be, you know, it might mean that you're just at peace with yourself and that.
I think everybody dreams, but they just don't remember. Because I know that I dream every night. Some nights I remember. If I wake up near the time that I'm dreaming, I could capture what happened. But if I dream and I'm, you know, don't wake up till later, then I can't remember a thing with it. But I love to sleep, and I love to be in that restful state of in the dream phase, you know. So it's I don't know. I think it's almost like you unwind. You recharge, you get to travel in your, you know, some people do astral projections at night and unbeknownst to them. So I think it's an important.
So Danny says, Rex says.
Danny Flo, yes, winter is upstate New York. Feels like it's going to never end. Yeesh, yeah.
And Danny says, I'm at the southern tip of Texas. 60 degrees Fahrenheit feels freezing to me.
It's colder here in Silver City. We've had, you know, it's gone as low as 18 degrees at night here.
Oh, it's gotten colder than that this year.
Yeah.
So Darth says, dreams, which is the real life?
That's very interesting because sometimes it feels that the dream is the real world and this is the fake world, which many of us know that that's most likely the case. 40 is paradise in upstate New York, I'm sure.
It's 32 here right now.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And Danny goes, oh my God, I would die frozen solid. Yeah. Yeah. Good thing for our little gas fireplace there in that corner.
We lived in Fort Lauderdale and didn't have a heater.
No. Well, I think it got cold, and cold in Florida is like 60 degrees.
Yeah, it got cold at like that day that we went to go have a Mexican over at that Rubio's Tacos place.
Yeah.
Remember we walked down the street and it was like 55.
And that was like, oh my God. Yeah, that's like freezing for Floridians. And let's see here. Phoenix says.
Dreams are important to keep track of them. I don't dream much anymore. I feel they send out sound at night. Been watching it lately. I get woke up with a high sound.
Interesting.
Whoa.
1 degree.
1 degree.
That's cold.
Darth Reven. Minnesota has 2 seasons, winter and summer.
You would know that.
I lived in Minnesota.
You would know that.
Where do you live, Darth? Do you live up north where it gets really super cold, or down south where it still gets really super cold? Because Phoenix says, I want to use earplugs, but won't hear fire alarm. But we keep hearing this high-pitched sound here. Wakes you up in a fullness and a lot of popping. Weird.
Crazy stuff. Well, it's time for that manifestation and meditation moment.
Is it really?
It is. Already. Okay. So let me turn this guy on. Let's hope it works. Let me open this guy up. And make sure Bluetooth is on. It appears to be on. Let's see if it's going to play. Yes, it is. Oh gosh, time flies when you're having fun. It's always such a pleasure to be able to share this time with you guys. I've been enjoying the morning show, Mark Angelo's Transitional Radio Healing segment, and loved having Scott call in and share his life and where he's at and his awakening. And I welcome you guys to do that. I usually try to come on 9:30 in the morning, give or take. Yeah, it's all about growth and learning and loving, making the connections as spirit beings that we are, having this human experience. I want to start focusing on factors that will help improve our daily life and well-being. Tonight we will manifest self-love, something that is hard for many of us to give ourselves because we think we're too broken, we're too far gone, we're not worthy. We find all sorts of excuses. Many people believe they truly love themselves, but I ask, do you really? That is a question that many should ponder. Let me ask you a question, or should I say, let me ask the inner child in you this question. That baby boy, little baby girl that lives inside of you, that sometimes we don't pay any attention to, or sometimes we pay too much attention to. Let me ask you, little one, do you like who you are? Do you feel unconditional love about every aspect in your life? Every. How you look, how you feel, how you smell, and how you react to situations in life. Are you fully complete in all of your aspects? If there's a slight doubt or the answer is no in any of these questions, I want you to do the following. I want you to think about the very thing that you said no to. And I want you to go back to that very time this became an issue for you. Go back. Pinpoint that time it became an issue for you. Was it during your childhood? Did someone tell you you were ugly? Did you get told that? A friend? A neighbor, your mother, your father, your sibling? Did someone shame you for behaving a certain way? Boys don't do that. Girls don't do that. Why are you doing that? Go back in time. I want you to relive this moment. That inner child right now. It's going back in time and reliving the moment, that first moment that somebody called you ugly. Someone shamed you for behaving a certain way. Think of yourself as that child again and face that person that hurt you, that scolded you, that told you you were ugly. And I want you to forgive them. Not only do I want you to forgive them, but I want you to forgive yourself for accepting those lies. tell them you love them and that you don't agree with what they're saying, but nonetheless, you love them and forgive them. Replace their words with new words and affirmations that will change that moment in time for you. So that moment in time that somebody called you ugly, replace those words and say, you are handsome. You are beautiful. You're perfect the way you are. So let's recreate the time when your brother or sister told you you are ugly and replace those words they're saying with you, that you are perfect. You are made in divinity and beautiful just the way you are. Hear the words, feel the love, recreate the moment, and remove the negative. One from our hard drive. You know, just like you would remove something from the hard drive, remove that one from your hard drive. Whatever the situation that has created the self-hatred or doubt or incongruency with your light being, just discard it, remove it, delete, replace with you are beautiful, wonderful, and handsome and perfect the way you are. Because you know what? You're not your body. You are a light being. Your spirit and perfect the way you are. Whatever is making you live and react at lower levels, we need to reset and redirect. Let us create a reset button for future self-doubt, future decoding for whenever someone triggers a memory of pain, rejection, abandonment, or anything that will create a reaction from old wounds. Touch your temple on your head and repeat these words as you're tapping. I am enough.
I am enough.
I am divine.
I am divine.
I am perfect the way I am.
I am perfect the way I am.
I don't lack anything.
I don't lack anything.
I am beautiful.
I am beautiful.
And I am whole.
And I am whole.
Again, I am enough.
I am enough.
I am divine.
I am divine.
I am perfect the way I am.
I am perfect the way I am.
I don't lack anything.
I don't lack anything.
I am beautiful.
I am beautiful.
And I am whole.
And I am whole.
Repeat these words and touch the right side of your head, your temple, to reprogram and remove old wounds and thought patterns. Do this often, replacing the words to negate the pattern that was created in you when you were younger. That pain that was created, that moment in time will be replaced and replenished with love. Namaste. And that is the way it's done, folks. We are the masters of our universe. We create our reality. We are no longer slaves. We are no longer victims. We are here to rise up and claim the right place by our mother and father. We're absolute light and divinity, and we are part of them.
Rex says, love these two so much in this chat. Thank you for being here and having that positive vibration.
Thank you, Rex. Thank you, everyone, for joining us, for making this time we spend together with you so special. There is, no other way that I would rather spend my time than to spend it with you guys day after day. And Phoenix says 3 moons or 3 suns, not light up yet. I'm sure that all that information is in the books that you're writing, and I'm sure that it would flow beautifully to understand your heart, your passion, and your story.
Phoenix says, our paths have crossed again and again on this road to home. Much love.
Much love to you, Phoenix. Much love to all. My gosh. Susan, thank you. Thank you so much. Darth. Who's this right here? Did we see this one?
They retracted it.
Oh, they retracted it.
But you see it?
I see it perfectly here. Ma Christina Martin. Last month, I dreamt about 3 moons. The sizes were small, medium, and large. Then flocks of witchcraft up in the sky, or withcraft up in the sky, and there was the Pope leading it. That was weird. And there's a lot
symbolism
behind that. There's a lot to do with Jesuits and the Catholic religion and what they're trying to create. Notice I say the word trying. They've been creating things for many moons now, but the time has come now for their reign to end in a new beginning, a new age. Heaven on earth, heaven within our temples, the kingdom will rise and we will be whole again. So I think that's about it. That's all, folks. And love this new
2 hours and 39 minutes.
Yeah. And it's, well, I like that because it tells us the time and everything. It's good stuff. Good find, dearie. Yeah.
Thank you. We got our graphic back.
Yeah.
And then when we have a guest.
Yeah, when we have a guest, it'll be
we'll
easy.
Be able to do a split screen
and
single shot.
And the guest and us and show whatever it is that we're showing. You know, and if we ever, you know, want to say something, you do this and then share it. And this is real talk. I love you all. See that? Awesome stuff. Awesome sauce, man.
It's cool.
Good night, Rex. Good night. We love you so much,
Thank
everyone.
you so much for your support and your kind words.
Yes.
And your beautiful spirit.
Yes.
And that positive vibration that you send throughout the time that we have here with you as we share together and grow together and love together and learn together.
Please, guys, don't forget to subscribe for those that are new to the channel and new to watching. Share with your friends, and let's get this channel going.
Phoenix says God's children are hurting and lost, but soon they go home. Just have faith. Oh, quote unquote God. Sorry, Mark, forgot. Wrong word.
I love you, Phoenix. I really do. I really do. I love your dynamic, your heart, everything about you. You need to send me a picture of you, because all I see is a little P in the Phoenix I am, but I want to be able to embrace your essence. And I do that when I see pictures of people. It's like story time for me. When I see a picture of someone, their life flashes right before my eyes. It's like I get to get to know you a little bit more that way. So please send me a picture so that I know who you are. And I feel you already, but it's the way that I make that full connection. Good night, Darth.
Thanks so much for being with us, Darth.
Thank you. Thank you.
And stay warm.
Yes, totally. And let's see here. We're going to end the show with a song that I wrote. Let me go here. And let me share this here. Okay, there we go here. Whoa, wait a minute. What's going on there?
I shared the wrong thing.
Did I?
Apparently.
I still got to learn how to work this stuff. Why is it doing that?
You have to get rid of that.
Okay, let me get rid of that. Let me share screen.
Love you too. Yeah. I took a picture, but man, I'm old. It looks bad. She said.
There we go. Let's see if that works.
Should work.
No, it's doing that again. Why?
I don't know.
Huh. Let me see here. If I do that way, let me try this. I gotta learn the hiccupy.
Chrome tab. How about Chrome tab?
Oh, that's why. Maybe that's yeah, you're so smart. There we go. Ta-da, Chrome tab. I kept doing the other one, and it was like going all over the place.
Okay, it's on its way, but you asked for it, she said. Phoenix.
Yes. And let me go here and do this. See how that works. Yeah. Okay. Well.
Are you starting from the beginning? Or?
No, that's where the music is. I know it has, because
no,
it's how this whole video. I was like a whole discussion, and then I go into the music. But guys, thank you so much for joining us yet again. And I will be live tomorrow around 9:30 or so. The morning thing is still depending on what time, but I'm sure if you guys hit that little notification button, you'll get notified. And if you want to call in the show, I'll provide the number in the morning if you want to share something. I'm going to be talking tomorrow, most likely, a little bit more about the cancer decoder segment or system that I'm creating to help people reconnect themselves with their cells, learning how to visualize, arm themselves so that they don't become sick with all the stuff that surrounds us, and just empowering you to heal yourself in many ways. So anyway, appreciate you guys. Love you. But remember to always love yourselves too. Good night and be well. Okay, let me see here. This is so confusing for me because I still have to. Here we go. Oops. Ay, ay, ay. Okay, and
I'm going to attach a little song to the end of this. Please wake up and realize that this whole thing has been a lie. Really follow Jesus' teaching, not the dogmatic belief that they want you to believe, but the true teachings. Open your hearts and let Spirit speak through you. I love you, but please remember to love yourselves too.
Take a look outside your window. What do you see? The children, they are starving, filled with disease. And you are safely sleeping, tucked in your bed, while the rest of the world's dying, you sleep instead. What's going on? What have we done? What's going on? What have we done? I wanna thank you, thank you, thank you for being you. You have ignored this, nor this, nor this. You know this is true. Get up from your ass, do something at last to make a change. Put your weapons down, stop running around, this is your world. And she's slowly dying, she gently weeps. What is going to take now to turn this around? Break down the ego, stop fighting now. Let us stop our fearless leader from destroying our world. No one will come to save us, we are on our own. I wanna thank you, thank you, thank you for being you. You have ignored this, ignored this, ignored this. You know this is true. Get up from your ass, do something at last to make a change. Put the weapons down, stop running around, this is your world. And she's slowly dying, she gently weeps. Get your head off the ground now, stop being a fool. The media has been lying, religion has too. The one man who really cares is message was true and fair. We killed and destroyed and made him. We made him into a religion, a dogmatic belief. He came to show us, change us, show us. Instead we destroyed his teachings. Yeah, made a mess of things. I wanna thank you, thank you, thank you for being you. You have ignored this, ignored this, ignored this. You know this is true. Get up from your ass, do something at last. We need a change. Put the weapons down, stop running around. This is your world, and she's slowly dying. She gently weeps. She's slowly dying. Gently she weeps. And she gently weeps.